Flame on! How's everybody doing tonight? I'm here with my co-host Nick Lenz. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
And today it's that time of the month again where we talk about Boruto Two Blue Vortex Chapter 8 and the official conclusion of Volume 2.
But it did leave on a cliffhanger. I just read it today because I didn't read it until prior to today. But it did leave on a cliffhanger.
Indeed. You want
A
to do a chapter?
cliffhanger you would not expect.
Indeed. So you want to do a chapter breakdown or just go straight to the play-by-play?
Straight to play-by-play. So
Okay. We pretty much start off right where we left off. Kawaki regains consciousness after Mitsuki poisoned him. Ada's kind of having a bit of a heart-to-heart with Mitsuki while they're going through what it means to be human, the whole false love concept of being human for the sake of simplicity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is weird.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. That was weird. I thought you looked like you froze.
Hopefully that doesn't happen again in the future. But
I hope not.
Hopefully. But where was I? Oh yeah. So basically, it's the aftermath of the Boruto Mitsuki fight. Mitsuki's feeling conflicted because of the omnipotence. And I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's insinuated that Kawaki, at least in terms of his desires, can alter the circumstance of the omnipotence at will if he really wanted to.
That's kind of what it seems like to me. It wasn't exactly very clear in the chapter itself.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kishimoto went that route, especially to write him. It depends whether or not this is going to be a story with a dark ending or a typical shonen positive ending. It could really go either way. You think he's going to lean more?
Because I think a lot of people will love seeing happy endings, people, instead of just leaving a dark ending.
Dark endings have happened in shonen. They have happened. They're rare, but they happen.
Yeah.
And basically what I mean by that is how I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Spoilers if you have not had the time to read the chapter yet, even though the release was about a week ago. So I will give you a few seconds.
Yep. Technically released on the Weekly Shonen Jump app about 5 days ago.
Thank you, Nick. Kawaki got stomped in this chapter. I'm sorry. Like, I get what they're going for, trying to knock him down, build him back up, and there may be some larger story implications, but Kawaki has not done anything to really convey him being a threat. Even in Shippuden, Sasuke carried more of a antagonist role.
Yeah, and also for some reason, Delta is his lackey.
For some reason. Now, yeah, I have noticed Delta's a lot more tame going into this chapter compared to how she usually is. Now, this could go one or two ways. Either A, Kawaki actually did brand Delta with the Karma Seal on Amato's request, or Amato had already figured out the omnipotence, like, hey, I won't rat you out if you finish this favor for me.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know the particular specific circumstance, but given how she's not using her ninja tool tech as much, we can at least make.
Also, she says that basically, if you listen to Ida, she'll kill Kawaki.
So that much is intact at the very least.
Yeah, which begs the question: does she still have some hatred toward Boruto for defeating her, for handing her the first defeat in the series?
That remains to be seen. But even with Jura and these evolved 10 tails, Kawaki is not up to the task. Like, at least not by himself. He relies way too much.
By the way, Boruto is gone from the chapter, which page 11. He's gone. He's not even here for the chapter.
He's not here long.
Yeah, which is interesting, to say the least. I get the reason why, because he's been on screen now since like chapter 2 fully. So I guess maybe they want to give the rest of chapter to somebody else.
And I definitely anticipate that. But regardless, Jura and Hidari, I believe those are the 10 tails who end up in the village. They show up just waltzing around a bookstore looking for more information on Naruto. And this is a key plot point because everyone presumed Naruto was dead, not sealed off into another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse you.
Yeah.
And Kawaki, after now, granted, I understand what Kawaki is trying to do. It's obvious what Kawaki is trying to do. Regardless of obsession towards Naruto, it doesn't change the fact that Boruto is a threat because Momoshiki is still in play.
Yeah, and I love how Shikamaru was informed by this. Like Ino, it says, like when he was like, intruder alert, two chakras into the village. One is unknown. The other is Sasuke Uchiha. I think it's not Sasuke. I'm like, it's like basically they made over the top with these two guys popping in the village.
Yeah, just a grand spectacle. Like, these fodder shinobi are going to get bodied, but it's part of the course. It's part of the course.
Yeah, and the fact that you see Satoru's reaction, like, Dad, is that you? Despite the fact she hasn't seen her father in 2 years.
And Boruto openly told her that, hey, he fought off code in the claw grinds and basically sacrificed himself for me. He openly told her this, I believe, in chapter 3.
Yeah.
But
but the thing is, how the heck can this guy have Sasuke's chakra? It makes no sense.
They do say in the chapter because they're not harvesting anyone, they're acting on instinct, meaning they want to know more about the shinobi world, its custom. Basically, they're a repeat of the Akuta arc from the anime. They're very much a repeat of the Akuta arc, at least narratively.
Yep, and then they're attacked by Kawaki, which somebody got there very quickly. Because I could have sworn in the book chapter he was like Eris of the village when this happened, and then here he's like, here already? Did he teleport?
I mean, he is using Otsutsuki power, so he probably flew like half across the village in a few seconds.
I mean, I get Delta doing it, but him? Not really.
And then he tries to jump Jura and Hidari and immediately gets knocked into the water tower. Nice touch.
Yep. And then, like, the chapter has got a weird ending. Like, he's battling them, and I think this is the same water tower that was from Shippuden.
From part 1, yes.
Yeah, I believe, if I remember correctly, wasn't the same water tower that Sasuke used to Chidorian to make a hole?
Yep, and Naruto's Rasengan evaporated the water tower on contact, indicating that he had surpassed him.
Yeah, and then we have Satoru and Susumu running to action, along with Team 10 and Himawari. And then they confront him, and like, which one is he? Uzumaki Naruto. It's what in the world is going on here? And look at Himawari. It's like, what? Like, why look at Himawari? Because she's got some more chakra he does? Like, isn't this a weird ending to you?
It is. But there's also at least been some setup to it if you go back through Naruto the Last, some residuals on DNA genetics, and even the fact that Himawari is actually more comparable to Kid Gohan in Dragon Ball Z, to where she has latent power and potential, but is not immediately inclined to awaken it.
Yes, and I kind of notice this now. Is like she kind of looks like basically her mother, the way her mother looked in Shippuden, kind of.
Himawari does resemble more of her mother. I'll give you that.
Yeah, the only thing you could tell basically to get from Naruto is the whiskers.
And maybe his empathy.
Yeah, and also she gets her anger from her grandmother. The red tomato.
The red habanero.
Yes. Which is something of the fact that Sakura is a lot like Naruto's mom, and yet he ends up with Nada.
Indeed. Yep. That is very ironic.
Yeah, I had this really like thing in my head, like this could have possible story for Baruto before all this happened, where you had Team 7 come back from a mission and they come across like a body laying in the road, and the body is the red tomato revived. All of a sudden, meets everybody, and his was by far. And the thing is, like, and Satoru will want to examine here because she has medical ninjutsu, and the fact that apparently when she was and my story is like, oh, underneath she's not wearing anything, and look how basically Satoru basically is not showing it because three guys there. Usually to cover herself up with. But this would be an interesting idea to do for a story. Just a story in my head. But and basically her reunited with Naruto and meeting Naruto's wife and meeting Hinata and Himawari.
It would have made for a good filler episode at the very least.
Yeah. And the fact the person who could have brought her back was probably Orochimaru.
Probably as a gift to Naruto in a way, in a very twisted way.
Because reviving the fourth Hokage is impossible.
Yes, wait. I thought the Reaper mask undid Minato, Lord First and Lord Second from the Reaper seal.
But I think that he probably wouldn't bother with Minato at all, because he probably has a lot of respect for him than he does his wife.
Kushina, yes.
That's my guess. And it's strange though, the fact that I think it was her apron that you find it strange so that Naruto's house that he lives is looks like the same house that his parents lived in the flashbacks.
Yeah, but it's the old Uzumaki house.
Yeah, as for what happened to it after they died, it was never explained. Or how Naruto got the house. He probably got the house due to the fact that he's basically the only person who can actually own the house legally.
It was seized when he was under the custody of Hiruzen, who basically did the bare minimum, gave him a waiver and he had to be taken in by Ichiraku Ramen. At least Hiruzen did the bare minimum. I get that Hiruzen was basically had to deal with a lot politically. Post Third Great Ninja War, the political tensions of a neutral Cold War, and a notorious rivalry with the Hidden Cloud Village. Hiruzen had the most strenuous political reign out of any Hokage, or at least since the village was founded. I will give him that. But it doesn't change the fact that you pretty much lied to Kushina and Minato on their deathbed and did the bare minimum.
Yeah, and the fact that he basically secretly gave Naruto an allowance, and Naruto knew nothing about it at all.
I don't even think Naruto didn't cash that money till after the war. I mean, he didn't get any incentives, no nothing.
Yeah, and apparently, the only thing he spent it on was some milk and some ramen. The milk he had that was mentioned one episode was expired, and that's not good. Don't drink expired.
Wasn't there a filler episode in part 1 where Naruto ate some bad milk and got a stomachache the entire? No, it was an OVA.
Yeah, actually, it happened in one of the series. I think Kakashi pointed sniffs the milk oh, this milk is expired. I'm like, Naruto does not go shopping for milk?
He doesn't take the time. I mean, he's too busy pulling pranks, trying to get attention from the villagers, spending a lot of his money in Ichiraku Ramen. He just didn't take the time to check to see if his milk expired. And he has to wait weeks on end for his next stipend from Hiruzen. He just didn't take the time.
Sasuke, I think, had the same kind of thing, but I think for him, it's probably inheritance from his parents.
Yes, Sasuke. But okay, from what I remember, Naruto and Sasuke, although relatively the same age, the Uchiha massacre occurred when Sasuke was 7 or 8. Naruto was orphaned on the Nine Tails attack because he was born a couple hours earlier. So Naruto should have at the earliest had that stipend since he was.
I think I remember. I think the Uchiha massacre happened after Naruto's birth.
Yes,
within I don't think it was a couple hours. I think it was more like a month, because there was some time that passed between when the Nine Tail attack happened and when the Uchiha massacre happened. It was immediate per se, but it had a build up to it, and the fact the Uchihas, what was mentioned in the series, is that they want to overthrow a village because they were tired of all the hazing against them.
And being pushed out of the village due to suspicion, notoriety, and just being weary of the Uchiha as a whole. Granted, a lot of that was present from Tobirama and the clan and the feuds from the feudal war era. But to say Tobirama outright hated the Uchiha is just a meme at this point.
I think it was Sekiro Hage mentioned that he actually started the police department for them, and actually one of his cabinet members being Uchiha.
He might have still been weary, or the only ones you could argue Tobirama hated explicitly were Madara and Idara, because in relation to both them and the death of their third sibling, who was jumped by Uchiha during a scouting mission gone bad and they tortured him to death.
Yeah. But I tend to think though, like when the massacre happened, like what exactly was Naruto doing during the massacre? Because it was never mentioned in the series what exactly what he was doing.
No, we see the flashbacks. Sasuke he's old enough to have cohesive thought, actually interact with Itachi and be traumatized by the fallout when he stumbled upon the massacre. Sasuke was at least 7 years old.
Yeah, as for Naruto, who knows what he could have been doing? He may have heard about the massacre afterwards because not even he'd be stupid to pull pranks on Sasuke when his parents were murdered. Or do anything. As far as I can tell, Naruto had nothing against Uchiha at all. He may not like Sasuke very much, but he had nothing against the clan.
No, nothing against him.
Yeah. It's quite something of the fact that Naruto is not... he does not discriminate against anybody unless they're a bad person.
No, I mean, say what you will about Naruto being a delinquent and a nuisance by the villagers, but a lot of that is... To which he was. A lot of that Naruto did out of attention, and the only reason they resented him was because he was the vessel or Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails to begin with. A lot of that was because the villagers were either ignorant or couldn't take their grievance out in any other way.
And here's something though, in the entire series, he only hit a woman once in a filler episode of the original series, and that was a slap
At best.
Yeah, because if you think about it, Naruto is a complete gentleman
for the most part.
Yeah, he may peeping, but he would never harm a lady at all. I think the only person he may have fought was that woman from the three-tailed turtle arc. I don't think he actually physically hurt her at all.
No, I mean
because he pointed out, and this was both in the sub and dub. I'm glad dub and changes. Is that he does not attack people who are injured.
No.
If they can't defend themselves, he's not going to fight them. Not at all. And so he treated her wound. He wouldn't like the fact she worked for Orochimaru, but he was not going to hurt her. And the fact that she popped up in the final episode as a cameo.
She did. I believe this was not Anko.
It was weird the fact she and the kid show up in the finale as a cameo. Which I'm sure that scene is probably anime original because I feel like original characters. But I kind of wish Naruto would said hi to them, something, but he didn't.
And even if we factor that, and that's why we're going with this whole Naruto Sasuke aspect, is because Sasuke was a durantagonist. He was on a villain arc through and through. There were only two. Yes. Kawaki is a needle pusher to where he's actually moving the plot along around him. Even Vegeta had this aspect by Toriyama multiple times. Majin Buu
and Cell say is the Durag of Boruto because it's not Kawaki.
No. Wait, what makes you say that?
I would probably say it's Sadara.
What? Okay, please continue.
Because if you think about it, she's like second most important character of the whole series behind Boruto.
But the needle pusher is usually more often than not a durantagonist.
Yeah.
Which is the rival character.
Yeah. Mitsuke definitely not because I would not consider him.
He's too passive. From a personality standpoint, he's too passive.
Yeah, I would say probably possibly Sadara a little bit, but it's a very friendly rivalry between her and Boruto, but they're very good friends.
Those shippers would argue differently. Let's see how the time skip happens because they're actually of age at this point in the story.
Yeah, and also, have you noticed, though, that Sadara has never smacked Boruto the whole series?
Wait, what? Wait. There was that one episode. It was at the end of the Shin-Uchiha arc where Boruto used sexy transformation jutsu in an attempt to save himself during a confrontation on the 5 great statues on the Hokage's monument.
Yeah.
Does she? I'm pretty sure she hits him then, but we don't see it.
At least it wasn't like a recurring gag, like her mother being basically Boruto's father almost every episode.
No, my mistake. Let me clear that up, ladies and gentlemen. She threatened to use a kunai to cut his support line. She didn't directly hit him. She just threatened to cut his support line.
Yeah, which is, you got to say that I think that the reason why they're not going to do that for Boruto because he's not much of an idiot like his father is.
No, and that gag in the Naruto anime was milked to oblivion way too often. In the manga, it only happened like 5 times in total, maybe 10.
Yeah, at least don't have a woman licking Boruto's face. But Naruto happened twice.
You're going to get me demonetized one of these days, Nick.
It happened like twice. First, it happened in the manga, which was not adapted for the anime.
No, that was censored out.
Yeah.
That was censored out.
Yeah. Anka did, and also happened during the anime original arc during Shippuden. It was the arc that I kind of felt as though I watched the second time. It felt as though the arc was like the ending was rushed. Like the first half was really good. It was that that group that Ashura was part of.
The 12 Guardians arc.
Yes. Like the first half was really good. The second half was rushed.
Yes, because they were going to adapt the zombie combo Hidon and Kakuzu or the Akatsuki Pursuit arc like right afterward. The 12 Guardians arc only got like 12 episodes to its name, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that yeah, I actually forgot. This actually was another arc where he did fight a woman.
Yes.
Though it's not like he basically smacking her face, per se.
No, she tries to feed off his chakra, then seeps into the Nine Tails, gets scared, and backs off on her own accord.
And in fact, she kisses him twice.
I feel like that was most
and I was like, nope, not into that. Yeah, especially since this woman's older than he is. He's like, nope, not into older women.
But
despite that, he had a crush on an actress in the first movie.
Who was very promiscuous. Because if you remember that movie, there is a very dirty joke at the very end of that movie. It's involving Kakashi. It's a blink and you miss it.
And the fact that apparently that Naruto wanted a picture with her, and she did get a picture while he was in the hospital.
And unconscious.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't remember at all. Though, one thing that I always find kind of weird about Naruto, yet Naruto did this. Naruto never had a beach episode. Never.
Probably for the best.
But yet, we did see Sakura in a bikini in the third movie credits.
We did. And I believe the closest we got was I'm probably confusing this for Atla, but the Elephant Koi episode just before the Genin graduation exams where Boruto just wanted to hang out and have a big day with everyone. Since after you reach a certain milestone, your friends tend to grow apart. And I know we're kind of off topic here, but this chapter was very action-packed, short, straight to the point. Those 40 chapters go by like that. That's the only reason we're even on this subtopic. But even with that, Boruto's not as big of a brat as you give him credit for. Mm-hmm. Granted, he does rebel against his father. He does a lot of stupid things. He gets duped into using the ninja tools, which then plays into a subplot with Kara. Boruto's a preteen or prepubescent kid who made a lot of stupid decisions.
I would say now he's like, because they'd say like, what was it, about 2-3 years passed by?
About 3 years. So he's about 15 now, about Naruto's age when Shippuden started.
Yes. At least they show the fact he actually grew taller. I mean, look at the other ones. I mean, the only one I could tell basically height-wise not changed was Chocho.
Yeah, she's relatively the same. Chocho is relatively the same.
Sadara did grow. Sasori kind of did.
Yeah, but their designs are kind of stagnant. Like you could tell that's them, but haven't changed to a significant degree.
The most obvious one was Himawari.
Obviously, because in Naruto Next Generations, Himawari was like what? Konohamaru's age in part 1, 8 or 9.
What is she like? She doesn't look 10.
No, she did not. She did not look 10 years old.
She looks like she's like 12.
Wait, wasn't Boruto right at 12 during the movie recap? Like he had just turned 12?
I think so, because basically when Boruto started, he was 12 years old, and now he's like 15. So does that mean Himawari might be like 11 or 12-ish?
Close to it, because they do say in the or at least the promotional material for Naruto The Last, Boruto and Himawari were about 2-3 years apart.
I think so, but they're very close in age, and the fact that Naruto is always taller than she is, always, even after the time skip, still shorter. And it's like, if you look at it, the only person that ever changed height wise between Naruto and Shippuden is probably, I would probably say Shikamaru.
Yeah, but you kind of know Shikadai and Shikamaru were going to be a carbon copy of the other, at least to a degree.
Yeah, at least he didn't have scars on his face like his father does, which the series never explained where he got the scars from.
Prize of battle.
Yeah, and there's something though from the first generation of the Team 10. The only one that's left around is Choto's grandfather.
Oh, Choji's dad. Yeah. Inuyasha and Shukaku were killed in the war during when the Ten Tails fired a Biju bomb at the Alliance HQ. They were killed in the blast.
Yep, and yet somehow Ao survived it, despite like he was there, which they kind of explained that he survived somehow.
He formed a water-style construct around himself, and he was buried in rubble, but half his body got blown off.
And yet he couldn't do for everybody else. Like I remember one he went in there was actually A's assistant. You remember?
Darui. Wait, wasn't that Darui?
I think so, because a lot of people were just assistants in that particular thing. Like a lot of generals, the Kage were not there. They're on the battlefield.
Yeah, they were fighting Madara or preparing to fight Madara.
Yeah, though it was kind of strange that the Susumu got ripped in half, but yet the one who's Naruto's cousin.
Oh, Karui.
Yeah. Basically, she used the power to put her back together and sort of heal her wounds. I'm like, how the heck is she surviving sliced in half like that?
To be fair, Madara is OP, and not too much time would have passed to where he finished that fight and then dashed over to confront the Alliance.
And
not
it's something that she was only got top in half. Not Mei, not A, or even Gaara. Gaara got very minimal wounds.
Yeah, Gaara is arguably the weakest of that roster of the 5 Kage. Granted, Gaara has very strong durability and feats, but in terms of raw power scaling, Gaara was arguably the weakest out of the 5.
I would say he's probably, if you look at his physique, he looks like he was more. I wouldn't say he wasn't as. I'm not saying he was. He probably had more cardio than a lot of the other ones did.
Yeah, he had a lot more maneuverability, cardio.
The strongest he was the youngest of all 4 of them.
That is true. The strongest were A and Inoki by far. You have A, Inoki not too far off, Tsunade due to her raw physical aspects. Lady May is slightly stronger than Gaara, but a lot of that could be attributed to experience and her Kenkai Genkai. But the gap is not by much.
And the fact that Sakura has never called her out for trying to seduce Sasuke.
I don't think Sakura ever found out about that in story. I don't think she did. Not even in any of the novels.
It's weird. And yet Sasuke has never talked about the fact that the former Mazakage tried to seduce him.
I think Sasuke just tried to play it off as battle banter, especially considering that he was focused on Danzo at the time.
Yeah, and she was 32. She was 32 years old when she met Sasuke.
It's a revolving gag in Japan that at a certain point that a lot of Japanese women, at least that's my interpretation, a lot of Japanese women like to at least be settled and married by the time they reach middle age. And Lady May was like you said, about 32 in Shippuden.
Which she looked really good for 32.
Yeah.
And the fact that her bodyguard, it seemed like he had a crush on her.
But not blame. No, it's not Al. What was his name? Chojuro. Thank you. But
and
Chojuro, he did. But come on, we know Chojuro was a kid. He was probably right at Konoha 11's age, maybe 16, 17 years old. Chojuro was a complete wimp. Granted, by the time Boruto rolled around, he gained a lot more confidence. But the guy was practically a wimp.
Yeah. And also his sword, supposedly part of the 7 swordsman swords, but never shown part of them, which is weird.
Yeah, he rarely ever uses it.
The only time I remember seeing action was when Kagura used it during the first Hit and Miss arc.
Now he does use constructs, but Chojuro never used the blade directly in Shippuden. He relied solely on constructs.
Yeah, I don't get like he's supposed to be he's supposed to be the last, if I remember, the 7 swordsmen. Use his freaking sword. At least the other ones did, who were still on screen.
Yeah, but again, he was very puny. He wasn't physically inclined. He had to compensate with constructs.
And also, he wore goggles.
How did she survive getting sliced? Okay, basically what happened is that Tsunade is a direct descendant of Hashirama, which means she has a lot more life force and vitality compared to the average shinobi.
And probably she has a lot more chakra.
That is also true. So she was able to, so through ki control, it's arguable she was able to stabilize herself just long enough for Sasuke and Orochimaru's team to arrive and heal her. She wasn't going to recover. She wasn't going to join the battle anytime soon, but she could survive her injuries.
Yep, and the fact that when she was healed, like, I get the fact that they couldn't have time to do this, but her shirt was like ripped at where her belly is, which, fine, whatever. She's a grown woman; she can do whatever she wants.
But where was I? Oh yeah,
it's weird though that at the time skip she was probably like the only person of Chikamaru who did not change their outfit.
No, and we even seen one of the novels even after the war. By the time Naruto the Last, Tsunade, Kakashi. Okay, review spoiler for some novel elements. Kakashi had to cope with losing the Sharingan after the war before officially taking the position of Lord Six. It's debatable whether or not Tsunade's remaining tenure after the war was a couple of months to a full year, because Naruto the Last is 2 years after the war.
Yes.
Kakashi was already in office by that point. So at most, the events of Kakashi Hiden were like a year.
Yes. Which is the one thing kind of weird about that book is, like, it's a great book. Read it.
Highly recommended.
The only problem is it was never adapted for the anime. I really wish it was. It was so good.
I mean, you do have a tragic love story in the end, or at least they try to set it up as that. And you kind of get a little reference to it in one of the Naruto Storm games, but that plot point doesn't really go anywhere. And I believe in the original,
the whole book takes place on an airship.
That, and I'm pretty sure the love interest dies tragically in the final battle.
Not really. No.
Oh no! Wait, who am I convincing? I'm confusing her for another character.
Yeah. Spoiler for in the book, she takes over the prison that was first seen in the movie Blood Prison. She becomes the warden.
And yet she made no appearance in Boruto.
And the prison looked completely different. It looked like Alcatraz.
I guess they didn't want to directly canonize Blood Prison, because then how do you explain a situation like Naruto's being framed as a formality because a doppelganger used transformation jutsu to pose as him? So you kind of need Naruto to be arrested as a formality so he can go undercover.
And the fact here's a weird thing. In that movie, he was at like he was ninja outfit. While Boruto, when he went undercover in the prison, he had to wear a prison outfit.
I get that it was supposed to be set up for the Mujino Bandits arc, and you only had like 6 episodes to work with, maybe 8.
Yeah.
But you probably could have gone over the movie one more time just to fine-tune some details.
Yeah, and also the fact that somehow he knew Killer Bee, despite the fact that in the show he never met him until prior to the 14th War.
Because you got to also factor the time of the movie's release. But in terms of the manga and likely the anime, Naruto had already met Killer Bee by that point.
And the 14th War was kind of underway by the time he met Killer Bee.
Yes, I guess due to you got to factor it's a small inconsistency due to release order.
Yes, and it's one of those movies that I would say I would wish it was partially canon. I know the Blood Prison itself is canon, but the movie's not canon. The movie I kind of wish they would have fixed the ending for it was the one where Naruto travels back in time to meet his father.
Oh, I forget the movie's name, but he also ends up rescuing the elderly woman at the beginning of the movie, but when she was younger. But
and the fact that one of my two problems movie. Number one, Benito saying the same line 5 times. Protect this girl, protect this girl, protect this girl. Like, we know that.
Again,
and he repeats it. Like, does Naruto forget the fact he's supposed to do his job, be a bodyguard for this woman?
Naruto is a bit of a scatterbrain, but even with that, I guess because they don't, at least with Dragon Ball, they clearly state the movies are their own thing. They clearly state that, even though elements could be partially canon, like BoJack Unbound and Wrath of the Dragon. But at least they clearly state that they're their own thing for the most part.
Not
Whereas
in the case of Naruto movies.
Not in the case of Naruto movies. It's not nowhere near as clear. So I guess as a precaution,
the only movie that's officially canon is Last. It's the only movie that you can say definitely is canon.
Yes. And maybe Boruto Naruto the movie, but that's a de facto epilogue for Naruto before it was restructured.
There's also Road to Ninja.
Which one? Because I'm only sure that only one of them is canon.
The movie.
Okay, Road to Ninja the movie. Okay.
Yeah, that one. Another problem in the movie was the fact at the end of the movie, it's like, okay, so Minto has been able to erase memories. Something was never mentioned in the series. And the fact that they erased Naruto's memories and Yamato's memories, but yet I would have thought to protect the timeline, they'd protect the girl's memory, like erase her memory of like meeting him. Well, it's kind of weird ending.
It's kind of paradoxical. Like she knows who protected her through that ordeal, but she's disclosed, she's honor bound not to say anything. At least that's what the movie is going for.
It just felt like a bit like, okay, so we have Naruto go back in time. Now, one thing I could definitely say is that canon of this whole movie was Jiraiya showing up, meaning to the fact he used Rasengan. That's the only thing in this movie I can definitely say is canon.
Because Minato did teach Jiraiya the Rasengan. Okay.
Yeah, because he showed up that he can actually do it. Aside from that, this movie is basically just an original.
And fun fact, the time slip art was originally going to be a movie. But when the showrunners realized that, hey, we're retreading this old movie with Naruto and Minato just a few years ago, except the roles are reversed, they decided to make an anime arc instead.
And it's set just after Sasuke left the village.
Hey, there is a 3-month gap there.
Yeah.
Mostly filler, but hey, it's there.
Yeah, it's something of the fact that, it's like all the characters, Boruto has barely interaction with a guy who's kind of his uncle, despite the fact he's actually supposed to be his mother's cousin, Neji.
Yes, distant cousin. Well, second cousin, I should say.
Yes, and the fact that I mentioned in my review, it's a good thing him wanted to come with them, because if not met her, he would obviously figured out, though, the fact that not only
dead giveaway.
It would be a giveaway that she's not only this child, but Naruto's the father.
Boruto acts like a lot like his father in a lot of ways. Their father and son, there's going to be parallels. But no, Boruto isn't as much of an idiot as his father is.
And the fact this whole arc was set just to get rid of a character that Kishimoto created originally for the Boruto movie, but was cut due to time, but including the anime. And this is basically the end of him.
And you would think he would have had time to at least attempt to brand a karma seal on one of them. But nope. Boruto's already claimed by Momoshiki, and Urashiki was too dumb not to at least attempt to brand Naruto.
Now, the ending, I like this ending better than the time movie, because they erased Naruto and Jiraiya's memories of meeting them to preserve the timeline.
Yes. And Sasuke, I assume, went around the village and erased everyone else's memories off screen.
But I would say of everybody, I'd say probably Jiraiya and Naruto, he probably interacted with these two the most. That's probably the reason we have more memories with them than the other ones did.
Possibly.
And it's something of the fact that Boruto, it's like he was very nervous seeing a younger version of his mom.
I mean, it is kind of weird. You're kind of going back in time, and now you're kind of seeing your mom, and you're a complete goofball of a father who can't read the cues to save his life.
Yeah. The fact that Hinata's got a crush on him, and the fact that the way it's written in the series is that he finds her blushing creepy.
I feel like the whole thing was just Boruto being more flustered than anything.
As far as I can tell, he has no problem with Hinata herself. She's probably the one person at all Hidden 11 that he has zero problem with.
No. And that's his mom. So.
Yeah, this is, of course, this is Naruto I'm talking about. He had no problem with her at all. He had a lot of respect for her because of the fact she actually had a lot of growth over the course of the series. And the fact that it was pointed to him, the fact that a lot of her growth is due to him. Which, it's like, okay, so so basically someone that was
He inspired her
by
in a way.
Yeah.
He inspired her in a way.
As far as I can tell, he had no problem with that.
No. And contrary to popular belief, Naruto's crush on Sakura only lasted up until the Tsunade, to the princess retrieval arc with Tsunade.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Naruto pretty much came to terms that Sakura was not going to like him back.
Yep.
Though there had been some retreading, Naruto the Last especially.
Yep. The one thing I at least appreciate about this anime, with exception of one episode, is that actually 2 episodes. The whole thing about comparing women's chest sizes only happened like in 2 episodes. It wasn't a recurring gag like it is a lot of anime.
No, only 2 episodes.
Which is something though. Like, here's something else. Like, you look at series like Bleach.
Oh, they run that gag all the time. Like,
yes.
You can't even get through a whole arc without listening to it at least once.
Well, here's another one for you. One Piece. As far as
Not
I
as
can tell,
crazy
never
about it
really
as
brought up. It was never brought up at all in One Piece at all.
Hardly. Maybe 3 times, if that.
It's probably just Sanjay doing it, but we'll look at something like Dragon Ball, for example. Yes, how many times brought up the whole thing of chest size? Once. In one episode of the Boo arc, where basically the Elder Kai wanted to kiss a beautiful woman, and Goku wanted to offer a Bulma and not his own wife. And then, of course, Gohan basically claimed, like no, not Fidel, because this is girlfriend. This fact they weren't dating yet.
But we knew that relationship was pretty much sailed. Gohan just had to ask her out at that point. But
yeah. And the fact that Chi-Chi liked her, like she saw her just by her showing up, and the fact that she wants to see Gohan. She saw her just by when we first met her that she's obviously future daughter-in-law for her.
And the fact that she does have a de facto fortune under Hercule, regardless of his bravado and false fame.
But something though that the fact that Gohan, Goku, and Vegeta all marry women who are rich.
That is very ironic.
Yes. And you know what Gohan and Goku have in common?
Same voice actress?
Well, not just that. Both their wives, same hair color as them.
Huh. Videl wore more of a pixie cut, but Chi-Chi was more of a maiden. Had more of a maiden hairstyle.
But both the hair were black. But at least Goku has something in common with Luffy and Toriko. Luffy like them, both of the same hair. Both all have black hair.
And
Luffy
they're both
with both Hancock and Toriko with Ren, I believe her name is. The one who's the guy with the rainbow hair.
I know what you're talking about.
Is a sister. Which I know it's kind of spoiled for the end of the manga, but at the end of the manga, Toriko and Ren got married.
Wait, end of One Piece manga?
Toriko.
Oh, Toriko, my mistake.
Which I really wish they would have finished out in the anime, because that anime was good.
Low ratings. And you were actively trying, and this was during a period where Toei was actively trying to replace, or at least Shonen, was actually trying to replace the big three since Naruto's manga.
And also, I was told this by Todd Heppercorn about this, of why the dub stopped after only like 50 episodes. The reason? Low DVD sales. And I heard they did dub one of the episodes for Toriko recently. It was that crossover with One Piece and also about Dragon Ball Z.
That was technically an OVA, but yes, they did recently dub
it. It was an OVA. It was regular episodes of the series.
Wait, it was a regular episode? I thought it was an OVA.
It was a regular episode. One Piece Funimation skipped it because they don't have license to dub Toriko anymore. But I kind of wish they would have gone back, get the Funimation technically is no longer on by the end of next month. Crunchyroll should go to Toei and a license out a dub with them, but don't redub it. Just dub the episodes that have not been dubbed yet.
They could do that, but it would lead to a licensing dispute, but they could at least attempt it.
I mean, if you think about it, it would not be much of a conflict because Toriko is kind of on Crunchyroll. And Funimation and Crunchyroll are under the same umbrella. So I don't see a conflict of interest there.
It would just depend on whether or not Toriko is worth a revamp at that point.
Yes, and if the series came back, have it where you ignore the last 2 episodes because it was canon up until those last 2. Because the last 2 were not. It was not as terrible as Soul Eater was.
Oh no.
It's like you have Toriko become a Super Saiyan, and then you have one of the villains doing kind of what he did at the end of the first. Because basically, the ending of that series, that's the end of the first half of the series.
And again, Toriko didn't have a whole lot of filler. The ratings just stagnated.
Yeah, it's something. The fact that it had like very little. You would think it would, but it didn't. It's kind of surprising.
And say what you will about Soul Eater. Granted, Soul Eater deviated from episode 18 onward, but you have to understand the manga was still in syndication around the same time, and the actual Soul Eater manga has a lot of darker elements in it. They were only commissioned for one anime season, 26 episodes.
And they sent it to 64. Like 50ish. They sent it like way too long. Yep. And also the series has a tiny bit more fan service than the actual anime does.
Wait, we're talking about Soul Eater or Toriko?
Soul Eater.
Okay, yeah, I agree to that. I really agree.
Toriko is just a food manga. But it's a fun food manga. When you listen to you ever listen to Dove of Toriko?
I have. It's actually hilarious. Question: what about the Shippuden final season? It was dubbed.
The whole series, Shippuden is all dubbed.
Yes.
Did
the license leave Hulu recently?
I don't know. But there was one episode I did come across that did have all the series dubbed. I never finished it, and sadly, the series, the website, you have to pay a subscription fee now in order to watch anything on like $5. Seriously, it was free.
It was for the longest time.
Yes. So they do have Kai on there. Believe it or not, they have all the Kai dub on there. Dragon Ball Z Kai.
Yeah, and I kind of appreciate they kept Gregory and Bubbles, because Gregory, although technically he's a filler character, he does play a role in Goku's training. So you kind of had to.
I remember I was listening to the dub recently for Gregory. He sounded different Kai than he did in Dragon Ball Z. Did you know
different actor?
Yeah, him is not as him is more obvious than, let's say, Bulma.
Yes,
because at least Monica Rial sounds similar to the original voice actress.
She does.
Gohan, have you noticed that I was listening to it recently? Like, it's like Colin gave him the same voice you gave Luffy.
I believe that.
It's not a character people talk about with her very much. Usually it's your Luffy or Urza or some other character, but not Gohan.
Because she didn't really make the role her own. She really just just mimicked the previous voice actress.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty stale
performance. This one has the dub is not finished yet. I did hear recently Christina V got in the dub recently. She's voicing one of the characters.
Mm.
But the dub of Boruto, the main anime, is not finished yet. It's still coming.
The dub relied mostly on DVD sales, and I believe it got kicked off syndication due to a combination of two reasons. One, the main actress for Boruto was pregnant, and the other, low ratings, excuse me. Yeah,
but it's still released on DVD. As a matter of fact, I've seen I own some of the DVDs myself. I believe that up until when I got to it, I think they dubbed up until like around episode I'm thinking like 150. I think it was.
Yeah. Episode 50.
Yeah, and apparently the only way you can get new release of dub episodes on DVD, it's the only way you can get nowadays. I have a list of W for Boruto, but because when I read and watched the whole series, it was all subbed.
Same. And the actual ending to Boruto Naruto Next Generations is anime original. They did not adapt the Omnipotence arc.
Yeah, because good reason. Because it came with the manga.
Even though you were only off by like 6 chapters.
Yeah, I would have, in my opinion, instead of going straight to the very next arc that came for the other opponents, I would have basically, number one, finished up in that Sasuke book, and number two, maybe do another anime original arc because a lot of the anime was the original stuff. I would do that over basically doing a very next arc.
That's fair because Sasuke Residence adaptation was rushed. Granted, Konoha Resident doesn't have much of a story to it. It's essentially a repeat of the Hidan Asuma fight. So there's not too much of a story with Konoha Resident. Oh, Konoha Shinden, excuse me. I always get them mixed up.
Yeah, what they did is Team Ninja Scrolls. That one, here's a weird thing though. Parent Child Day, the book that was out for those 3 episodes, that's released here. The Sasuke one has released here. The Kashi one is released here. Team Ninja Scrolls, nope. Well, the manga is. The manga's released here, but the light novel, nope.
So they got light novel. They got official permission to actually translate Konoha Hiden, Kakashi Hiden, Sasuke Hiden, basically that entire trilogy.
The Parent-Child Days was different from a different trilogy.
Okay, because one trilogy actually is just normal life post chapter 700, and the other trilogy stems from Naruto getting a chakra illness.
Yes. This one, like Parent-Child Day, what we saw in the anime, there was one for Sasuke where he was with Team 7 for a mission, and there was one for Shikamaru where it focused on a little bit of politics. This one where the feudal lord of the land of what was the name? I don't remember the name. The area where the Stone Village is in. I think it's like
the Land of Earth. The Land of Earth.
The feudal lord wanted to annex Land of Flowers.
Yes,
for reasons, and Okanai is in the book too, and you see him playing Choki with Shikamaru.
But they do allude, by the time you get to the end of the novel, spoilers, mind you, that Anoki does ultimately pass away by the end of the novel. And you had the Akuta arc. You literally could have adapted Shikamaru Retsuden for like 1, maybe 2 filler episodes and just have that conflict.
I would say this book was probably a little better than Mitsuki's appearance was.
And don't get me wrong, you can have Mitsuki, the Mitsuki retrieval arc, or the Akuta arc, however you want to call it. This is just my personal opinion. It's kind of a retread of Sasuke's retrieval mission. The only difference is where Boruto takes those around him for granted. He doesn't really understand his comrade and what he's going through. And we don't even see the reason why Mitsuki defects. Yes, he's curious about the Akuta and being synthetic, but we do see a letter saying that if Mitsuki doesn't comply, something would happen. Mitsuki reads the letter, but we don't know what it says. Even after the arc's wrapped up, we never find out. More than likely, given how unhinged Anoki was at point, if Mitsuki didn't comply and leave Konoha on his own accord, they will probably abduct and target Boruto in some way.
Yes. The rumor was they extended out the arc. Studio Parrot, the reason why it was so long, because Studio Parrot didn't want to do another arc. They just extended it out for no reason. That's why it went on for 20 freaking episodes. Yeah, it's as long as I can hold series for no reason. A lot of this stuff could, like, this arc could be cut down by 5 episodes.
I agree. The Ryuchi Cave subplot, I get it. Boruto's a child. He's not really compatible for sage training specifically, but it's the moral aspect. Mm-hmm. Boruto's trial was way too childish, regardless for the theme you were trying to get across.
Mm-hmm.
Have him deal with guilt for using the ninja tools.
Like toward the end, it took when they finally ran out of the Stone Village, they hadn't ate or drank anything in 3 days. Like they finally acknowledged after like 5 episodes
that the hike from Mitsuki's double cross all the way to the arrival to the hidden stone was over the course of 3 days.
And the fact that it took episodes wise longer.
I get it. You were coming up at a fiscal year and the higher ups didn't want to commission another arc within that time frame. But structure wise, you could have cut this down by 5-10 episodes. You could have done a mini arc of transition episodes instead. This did not have to be dragged out that long. In syndication, this arc was a nightmare to get through.
I believe also this because Boruto also has this weird thing where they switch days. Because I remember when the arc started, the series started on a Wednesday, and then switched to Thursday, and then switched to Sunday, and then it's like Sunday versus series.
Yeah, it was all over the place during that time.
I don't know why they kept changing the release dates for this series. It made no sense to me at all.
I guess they were trying to get a cheaper block on syndication and the Sunday
and
slot.
also prior to adapting the first, like they did for the actual series, Muji Minutes, they teased it for 2 years. They're going to adapt an arc for the manga. 2 years. Instead, we get an original, like live original stuff. The first official canon stuff we got was episode 39. That was from the Mitsuki one shot.
Then you had the movie recap.
Actually, that was second one because they did also have episode 1 as well.
They did. And then you had the movie recap spanning from episodes 51 all the way to 65, with maybe 66 acting as an epilogue.
Which, that was fine. I had no problem with that arc being that long. Because it felt like a good story, expanded upon the movie, which good for doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the fact that we did episode 50 do this. That was fine. But at least the arc felt like an actual arc. It didn't feel rushed. It felt like a good start, middle, and end.
It did.
And then it led to Mitsuki's disappearance arc.
No, you had 2 transition episodes before. You had 2 transition episodes and a mini arc. The 2 transition episodes were 66, 67, and half of 68, which were the Cho Butterfly Mode arc.
Yes, that stupid arc that should have been like 1 episode.
Maybe 2, but
it's not maybe 3. It was so stupid.
I get what they were going for, that Cho's basically the Eno of the new generation. She's a bit of a diva. But no, we did not need the rom-com subplot. This is a child.
There was also 1 episode where she and Anko wanted to go after these special dumplings.
But at least that's a one-off episode. That's just a short filler episode, one and done.
Yeah, and I still don't like the fact that Kishimoto had to put on weight after the end of the Third Generation War.
Some of that is due to censorship, Nick. I understand how you feel, but we got it. It's a different demographic compared to what Naruto and Shippuden had.
They could have had it where she could keep good shape instead of putting on a bunch of weight.
Fair points all around. I
mean, look. Let's say Naruto, for example. He kept in shape after the war.
But he's the main character. You kind of have to keep him in shape, at least to a degree.
Kakashi did.
Kakashi's a fan favorite.
Hinata did. like, if you think about it, Hinata was probably the thinnest of all the 4 girls.
Oh man.
And yet, this is the girl who was basically the quietest of all 4 girls.
What about Sasuke?
Sasuke surprisingly kept in shape despite being a wanderer.
He did, and even though his novels didn't get a proper adaptation, even Itachi's Daylight and Midnight novels were rushed.
Yes, but they did adapt the Sasuke one. It was the first one adapted for season 21. The one where he goes I think it was a arc where it was him working with this girl who called him Darling, kept claiming that she was older than he is. It was arc about Orochimaru, and the fact that it was actually follow up to when he indirectly caused A to chop up his own hand.
Yep.
Which I appreciate the fact they did that. Because he did ask him about it in the arc, like, do you resent me for that? He's like, no, I don't resent you.
I don't trust you, but I don't resent you.
I'm glad the fact that was acknowledged. Because that would be kind of dumb. Like, you have, the war is over. You could at least acknowledged it. I'm glad I did.
And some people, I have heard this a lot on social media, some people like to compare Sasuke's double cross, or at least setting up the final battle, to where he pretty much refused to undo the infant Tsukiyomi right away and held the world hostage to goat Naruto into a final battle, compare it to Majin Vegeta. One, those are 2 completely different circumstances.
And plus,
yes,
he was brainwashed.
Well, he did willingly let himself be possessed.
Yes.
But that and all, they're both their antagonists. Don't get me wrong. They both play the role beautifully. But at the same time, one was going through a midlife crisis while obsessing over his rival coming back for a day and not wanting to lose that golden opportunity. The other just wanted to assert his dominance and rule as a tyrant. Completely different circumstances.
Yep.
But I have seen that comparison.
He still refused to get an artificial arm for himself.
Personal penance, but personal penance.
And I definitely think that after Sakura healed both Naruto and Sasuke, she should have slapped both of them from this fight.
If you were going to use that gag, that was the time to do it.
Yes.
Because at least then it would have been deserved.
Here's the thing. She's never hit Sasuke the whole series. Never.
I mean, could you imagine actually watching the series in syndication? And then the one time that gag is actually used on Sasuke. Granted, Naruto's still getting hit too, but the fact that Sasuke gets a dose as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not played for laughs, but I mean, oh god.
I'm surprised that when he was leaving the village to become a wanderer, like, it is something though that she never gave him a kiss.
Well, the forehead pat is a very devoted sentiment that he shared with Itachi. So,
which he also said with his daughter as well.
It's a devoted sentiment, and even then, Sarada's only a year older than Boruto, if that. So even after Sasuke leaves to become a wanderer, he goes on his personal penance, the events of his post-war novel. I believe it was Sasuke Resident, and then he comes back. No. By the events of Sasuke Resident, Sarada's born before halfway through the story. My mistake. But yeah, they do not get together immediately after Sasuke's probation.
Yeah. There was also a rumor I heard a few years ago that they were going to have it where Sasuke and Sakura having their child, and there was images I saw of with Sakura having a little brother, and nothing came of it.
I had heard that too. They ultimately dropped it because that would have made Sarada a little too similar to Boruto. So where they both have estranged fathers for the greater good of the village. Sarada understands where Boruto's coming from, even if he's going about it the wrong way.
I'll be right back.
And while I'm finishing that statement, it just would have made it too obvious. You can still have empathy and relate to what someone's going through without directly going through a similar circumstance. So that's probably why we didn't get that younger sibling. It just would have been too obvious. And Tevia, your question is, oh, by the way, Jahi, I got a topic we can collaborate on. Let's do a comparison of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League versus Justice League versus Suicide Squad from Rebirth. Hey, that's very interesting. I'd be down for that collab. But back to our main topic finally. As what this video was trying to build up to, at least in my mind, I might do a personal retrospective on Kawaki, comparing him to another character from Atla, to where how trauma can help distort and blind someone because you'll understand when I try to break it down later in that video. Excuse me. But basically, I'm comparing Kawaki to Azula and how their trauma helped forge the paths and decisions they made. So that's the general gist of that video. And the reason I say that is because at the end of the day, Kawaki, he doesn't play he's not, what's the most appropriate way I could say this? Kawaki has no real feats going in the Two Blue Vortex. He's basically getting his butt kicked consistently. In chapter 2, he gets bodied by the Claw Grime, albeit one that was enhanced with a Renegon. In chapter 4, he gets tagged by Mitsuki to keep him out of the fight going into chapter 5. He regains consciousness, badmouths Ada, Delta gets in his face, and all the while Damon's just sipping on his juice box going like, I'm just going to sit back and laugh at you the moment this blows up in your face. Now, that's not directly what Damon said, but that's just the general tone of what he said. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
Yes, and Ada, when she first showed up, she revealed she had a thing for Kawaki. Now she doesn't. There's no mention of her being attracted to him at all.
And I've heard comparisons online that, this is just Sasuke Sakura 2.0. No, Sasuke did not. If anything, it's more comparable to Sasuke and Karin because Sasuke thought there was a use for Karin. And the moment she was an inconvenience to him, he called Danzo's bluff when he used her as a human shield in the summit. So, if anything, it's similar to that. Nick, would you... everything okay, Nick?
Yeah. I hit my knee while I was going to the bathroom and it's bleeding. But I'm able to take care of it, no problem.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Like my box over here is put in a very awkward position now. Basically, my knee is bleeding. But I'll be able to take care of it, no problem. I have stuff to take care of it.
Okay. That's good. But as I was saying, and you'll probably agree with me, Kawaki has no real defeats defining him as a antagonist. We only have one major plot point, and that's the flash forward sequence where Kawaki snaps and allegedly leads to the destruction of the village and a final battle between him and Boruto.
And also heavily damage the Okage mount while they're at it too, because something was kind of. Did you find it weird though when they had that the way it was that Minato's face was the one not damaged? I find that weird.
That is weird.
And those of you who are not familiar with what exactly that the Hokage is based upon, it is based upon Mount Rushmore.
Now, granted, we do not officially know the specific circumstances of what leads to Konoha's destruction in the flash forward. It's just from the evidence presented, it's very likely it'll either involve the Ten Tails somehow, or Kawaki will snap again if he's back into a corner. Something that Boruto's actively trying to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, he just wants to humble and reason with Kawaki. He doesn't want to kill him.
Yeah. He mentions that the whole thing between him and Kawaki is a complete misunderstanding.
Even though a lot of it stems from paranoia, trauma, the physical threat of Momoshiki, even if he can't revive, and the fact that Boruto technically enabled it by him and Kawaki coming up with a contingency plan to martyr him if Boruto lost control.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying there's a personal penance there. I'm not saying Boruto's completely the victim, nor Kawaki's justified, because again, Ada didn't even have control of the omnipotence, not to a certain degree. So the omnipotence could have been avoided if Ada had just stayed at the compound and just waited for Kawaki to be confronted by Shinobi and taken into custody. Because again, Kawaki had the leverage. Naruto and Hinata are in the dimension, the Daikokuten. They could not unalive Kawaki by conventional means.
Mm-hmm.
And Amato would still speak for him for the sole purpose of ensuring that Akebi's data is carried over into Delta, at the very least.
Yep. I mean, they mentioned Ada that Delta is a ninja tool, but look at her basically, like, you kind of see it, but you could say she's simply just an android.
Yeah. And
they don't much into her at all, aside from the fact she looks exactly like Amando's late daughter.
Yep.
And I'm like, at what point did he basically bring her over the Konoha, be a protector?
Yeah, basically when he and Kajin Koji made their move to burn Jigen to force Ishiki's revival, he had a package with him when he made his plea for asylum in Konoha, and I suppose that last Delta body was in that package, or at least was preserved in that package. It's not clearly
because she was deactivated. Actually, she was basically told to go to sleep.
Boruto just wins, though. Yes, at this point in the story, if Boruto and Kawaki were to fight right now, Boruto would more than likely win.
Yep.
But the larger point of what I'm trying to say is, excuse me, Kawaki is kind of like Anakin Skywalker in a way, to where he wears his emotions on his sleeve, he's blinded by his trauma and personal baggage, and he can't seem to get out of his own way.
And he's not ready to be whiny.
That is true. I will give him that. Kawaki is not ready to be whiny.
Yeah, that's George Lucas right? Hayden Christensen to be very whiny. Actually, more like Jake Lloyd to be very whiny, given very wooden, like being so wooden.
And okay, say what you will about the Phantom Menace, but Jake Lloyd was a kid. He did not deserve to go through that, regardless of fan expectation.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I had no problem with him portraying young Anakin Skywalker. It's just like he acted more like a robot.
Which a lot of young actors often do. They're flat. They're wooded. They have to take the time to learn the craft.
Yeah. At least Hayden Christensen looked like he actually made some motion.
He was just giving terrible dialogue. Like, Jesus Christ.
That's George Lucas for you. He wrote all three prequel movies. And the thing is, they only had like 3 actors, actually 4 actors, who made the dialogue work for them. Count Dooku,
Yoda,
the Emperor,
obviously,
Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Count Dooku, Mace Windu.
Yep.
But Count Dooku was mostly in Attack of the Clones. He barely played a role in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, but no denying the fact that he made the dialogue work, and he was awesome playing Count Dooku. And here's the strange thing. You know that character? I think it was in the Lord of the Rings. There's a story that's been out there that originally Ian McDermott was not going to play Gandalf.
Really?
Guess originally was selected to play him before he said turn it down to do a movie that bombed the box office.
Who?
Sean Connery. He turned it down because he didn't like the money. That's a story.
Even still, I could not see Sean Connery as Gandalf. I just can't see it. I cannot see it
because of Ian McDermott.
I just can't. I just can't.
I mean, because the guy was so good playing Gandalf.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't know which performance is better: his performance as Gandalf or Magneto in the Fox movies.
Yeah, I would say of the original trilogy, he's probably one of the best written characters who is not Wolverine.
Hands down. I mean, you have...
I would say close to is probably Patrick Stewart is Charles Xavier.
Hands down. Cyclops got done a little dirty, but he's always been a bit of a wet blanket.
Did you hear that Cyclops coming back? Rumor is Cyclops coming back for Deadpool and Wolverine.
I would not be surprised if he took the
And
cameo.
it's the original actor who played him.
I would not be surprised, but that is still great news.
One actor, I kind of felt this, like he did great. The first actor to play this character, he did a better job than his successor did. Beast.
I agree.
Because Kelsey Grammer, like, it seemed like he did research for this character. Like he got everything correct about the character, and he was embarrassed by his mutation. And not in the case the actor succeeded him. I mean, it's a bloob gets thing from Mystique.
Yeah. I liked First Class, not gonna lie. I liked First Class for what it was. More of a classic X-Men movie.
I thought it was kind of weird. Like half the people were in that movie. Like we get these Future Past, the sequel, and like a lot of those characters are dead.
Yeah, they were trying to they basically rebooted to keep the contract going a few more years. Try to ape the MCU success rather than just admit defeat and merge.
Because I remember, I think they killed Azazel.
They did.
They killed Angel, not Warren, the other Angel. They killed Emma Frost.
Yep.
Which, that made no sense to me. Frost basically was hilariously bad. Like, okay, so you have the real Emma Frost, not the one show up in X-Force Wolverine. That was just a woman named Emma who just happened the same powers. Because no fan bought the fact she was Emma Frost. Nope. I mean, that movie is hilariously bad. I mean, the only good thing about that, there's only 2 good things about that movie. Sabretooth Wolverine. Like, their chemistry is fantastic. Though, there's one I didn't like about Sabretooth, and it was really stupid. They made Sabretooth Wolverine's brother.
Yeah, but that confused an entire generation of fans. No, the rivalry between Sabretooth and Wolverine, I know we're off topic, but just bear with us. The main rivalry between Wolverine and Sabretooth is a blood feud because Logan inadvertently killed one of Sabretooth's brothers when he was dating his sister. The whole thing just stems from a blood feud. That's it.
Yeah, and that flashback until the beginning of X-Origins that's actually adapted from an actual comic book. The opening scene, except he switched to Dog Logan for Sabretooth.
Yep.
Which I found to be interesting. Like, that was like the only scene that a lot of people did like about the movie. Like, and like Jack was great. The other thing people didn't like about Jack, I heard complaints recently. I didn't really notice this, but then like close, like, yeah, the claws are CGI in X-Force Wolverine.
They are.
Why? You still have the vertical claws from the previous movies. Why make them CGI? It made no sense at all.
Cost-cutting measure?
I don't know. And then we have William Stryker, where, like, because we have to tie into X2, where he recruits Wolverine as part of the Weapon X program. Despite the fact in the comics he was forced into it. And the fact he's part of the military. Now, that's made of a movie. He's not part of the military in the comics. William Stryker is not a military man. He's a preacher who hates mutants. Because, yeah, and the fact that he called Nightcrawler a demon. He says, like his famous line from God Loves Man Kills, he points out to Nightcrawler, you dare call that a human? And the fact that the reason why the crowd, when he made his speech, turned on him because he's ready to shoot Kitty Pryde. Yeah, then basically he's been killed a couple times, come back, and he died again.
But needless is made. At least in Deadpool 1, they actually referenced it. You're welcome, Canada.
And plus, Ryan Reynolds basically redeemed himself for X-Men Wolverine. Because that was a terrible thing to do with Deadpool. They sewed his mouth shut.
How do you silence the merc with the mouth? That is the cardinal sin of the movie.
And also, having his swords come out of his hand and give him Cyclops eye blast.
I guess they wanted to create a super mutant, and the only one that would be realistically adaptable to go through something like that would be Deadpool. But just because you could do something doesn't mean you should.
He technically has two mutant powers. Healing factor, which was given to him, and he's a teleporter.
Which often a lot of people forget about. Yes, Deadpool can teleport.
Because people think, oh, teleporter, Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's not the only one who can teleport. Vanisher can too.
For mutants, teleportation is pretty common.
Yeah, but technically we only have 3 teleport mutants I can think of. You have Nightcrawler, Deadpool, and the Vanisher. Which they had Vanisher in Deadpool too, except we didn't see him. Allegedly, he's played by Brad Pitt. Like, I thought it was kind of weird. Like, okay, they include Shatterstar in the movie, but okay, got to look right, but he just didn't act like Shatterstar.
No amount of celebrity cameos was going to save that movie. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I like some stuff Deadpool 2 did. Like, I love Cable. Domino was good. I really wish they would have done a better job with the makeup, though. Heck, even Liefeld. I actually asked him, I told about this basically on his Whatnot stream, that like the actress played Domino did a great job. He agrees. She did an excellent job playing Domino. And he also agrees that Josh Brolin was excellent as Cable.
Perfect casting, solid performance all across the board. Bravo.
It's weird, though, that they released him like a month after Infinity War.
Yeah. They needed a movie to compete with Infinity War. And Deadpool 2 did okay. I mean, it wasn't going to do MCU numbers, but it did decent.
Yeah, and I'm glad the fact that when Fox was bought by Disney and they're bringing Deadpool in, that Feige said this: we're not changing anything related to Deadpool. Everything like with Deadpool is staying. Which, that's a smart move on Feige's part. And given what I saw from that trailer they did for Deadpool Wolverine, I buy that. He did not lie about that. Though I did kind of get a disagreement with Rob Liefeld about Wolverine's costume, because I thought it was Jim Lee who designed the costume, but nope, that's John Byrne who done the costume. But some people later said that it was actually John Cassidy's costume for Sonic the X-Men. But Liefeld said it was a John Byrne costume. I'm inclined more to believe Liefeld over the person who wrote the article about that being John Cassidy costume.
But thank you again for your trivia.
Yes, because apparently he was there, but he couldn't. I think he's an NDA related to Deadpool Wolverine. He can't exactly reveal much anything related to the movie. But I can tell he's happy for Deadpool being live action. It seems like I heard from his podcast, he loves Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. He does an excellent job playing. He agrees with everybody's opinion. Ryan Reynolds is excellent as Deadpool. And
when you give him a good script, he can carry a film.
You ever heard the story where he never saw what the Green Lantern suit looked like until he saw the trailers?
Yeah, I believe that.
I'm like,
and this is all I'm going to.
Like, here's the thing.
This is all I'm going to say about Green Lantern.
You made CGI, and you never got a chance to have him look at the costume.
This is all I'm going to say on Green Lantern. I get you were trying to start your own interconnected universe before you ultimately rebranded with Man of Steel onward. I get that. But why would you have your Green Lantern, or why would you confine Green Lantern to a grounded origin story on Earth? The point of Green Lantern is to traverse space.
Yeah, and also, I pointed this out though many times over the years. Why the heck is Waller in the movie?
Wait, Waller's in Green Lantern?
Yes, as a scientist.
Viola Davis.
Different actress plays.
Okay, I'm about to say.
Yeah, but they confirm it's Amanda Waller. I'm like, Amanda Waller, Suicide Squad. Some scientist works for the government. Like, I mean, that does not sound like Amanda Waller, but yet they claim Amanda Waller.
I get that she's a government.
Weird thing. She never appeared in Green Lantern part of that movie. Never. In the many years Green Lantern's been in comic form, the first time she ever appeared in the Green Lantern comic was Green Lantern #0 in 2012.
Strictly for the New 52. After the movie came out.
The movie came out. I'm like, and also, okay, so you featured Hector Hammond. No, the actor was fine. I had no problem with Hector Hammond. The biggest problem in the movie is Parallax. Brown Cloud.
Basically, it's a Rise of the Silver Surfer situation in terms of CGI. But even with that, just use Sinestro. Green Lantern First Flight. Hal gets recruited, uncovers that Sinestro's dirty, conspiring against the Guardians. Hal gets framed for a fallen lantern due to overall prejudice against humans, due to being an unintelligent species. And then Hal pretty much saves everybody's butts in the third act.
Yeah, I would have basically rather have Hector Hammond been in the movie than Parallax.
I would have just dropped the pretense and gone straight for Sinestro. Why do you think Hector Hammond would have been better? I'm curious.
Well, for one thing, the actor kind of actually act like Hector Hammond from the comics, except that in the comics, he can't speak when his head is huge. Like, you also remember a better villain besides Parallax?
Atrocitus?
Yes. That would be interesting. Atrocitus. Also, the biggest problem I had in the movie, like, okay, so in the comics and in First Flight, in any version they feature Green Lantern's backstory, how he gets his powers. So, in the original comic story, in any version except the live action movie, he is in a flight simulator. And then gets transported to where Abin Sur is. In the live action movie, he's teleported by basically while trying to unlock his car.
I get that could have been due to budgeting constraints, because then you would have to rent out an airfield, have him do the simulation, and then extra CGI to get him to the desert.
You use CGI for the Green Lantern suit. How hard is it basically do for a flight simulator?
Green Lantern was rounded on a tight budget. I mean, I ain't gonna say it made its money. It made its money back, but I wouldn't call it a profit.
Here's the weird thing. Did you know that Mark Guggenheim was one of the writers of the movie?
He was.
Yes.
My heart breaks.
I'm trying to think who else could be a good villain. He might be a good starting villain. He appeared in Green Lantern #2 back in the 60s. Like, maybe he could start as a starting villain for the movie.
Ken Jarrow.
The Puppeteer. An old Silver Age villain.
Deep cut.
Like, you can have him basically as like a starting villain. Because there's nothing wrong with having a few like supporting villains to start with, or a main villain. He might be interesting. Like, I would not go immediately for Sinestro in the first movie. That basically be like, what's the purpose to do with sequels? Like, build up to Sinestro. Like, the ending, I didn't think the actor who plays Sinestro would do a bad job. It's just that the problem is we didn't see him very much in the movie.
That, and they obviously wanted to sequel bait Sinestro, starting the Sinestro Corps in the sequel. Either There were two ways you could have had Sinestro as the main villain. One, do First Flight to where he's a rogue lantern, and then he founds the Yellow Corps in the sequel, or you just have Sinestro as a good guy and then build up to his betrayal.
You know, in our film we go for live action, he's never seen live action at all. Sonar.
You're right. He never did. He's never gotten a live action adaptation.
The only time we saw him was Just Like Unlimited.
I get that he's a very obscure character, but still.
But if you watch Just Like Unlimited, you know who Sonar is.
Yes.
I mean, he's basically, you can think of him as basically like, he's kind of like Count Vertigo, where he's like a foreign villain.
Basically.
Or here's another one for you. Ghostface.
Who was in the Flash TV show, mind you.
Yes.
Question, why couldn't they use Red Lantern? Okay, first of all, Jeff Johns' run had...
They would have to build up Red Lanterns because that's something you build up to. Like, starting with them first is kind of
brazen, risky.
Yes.
The only reason Green Lantern...
like 2 or 3, not for the
first film. Not the first film. The only reason Green Lantern, the animated series, got away with it because it was an overarching series and you could build up over time.
Yep, but thing is, like, here's another question: if they put Atroz in this movie, who would play him? But if you're gonna include Atroz, you gotta include eventually you gotta include the female member of the Red Lantern Corps.
Banshee, what? Zabel,
blue skin.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember her name.
Bleeze.
Bleeze, thank you. God, that would have given me such a headache.
She, like, all you have to do with the actress, paint her skin blue, give her sharp teeth. That's it. It's all you gotta do with her. Don't make her CGI.
And this is a cautionary tale for James Gunn's DCU. If it gets anywhere, use practical. Do not be so gun-ho on CGI. Try to use practical if you can.
The only thing I would use CGI on is maybe the contracts. Not the suit.
Obviously.
You don't need the suit be CGI. Like, I don't mind. I didn't mind the appearance of it, how it kind of looked, but it being CGI was a terrible idea.
It really was.
The ring does not need CGI either.
And can Hector Hammond carry a film as the main villain? Depends, because Hector Hammond is more of a. I'm not going to say he's Silver Age or post crisis campy. I'm not going to say that. He does have a darker element to him, but especially with the way the film was structured, especially with Carol being the damsel in distress, you really didn't need Parallax.
Yeah, Parallax was necessary. And it's like he just grow up possessed by Parallax. And the Guardians had no names. I know there was a Green Lantern TV show on Max, and they got axed because of the restructuring.
That and wait, are you talking about Green Lantern the animated series or a separate project?
The live action TV show. That was going to be a live action TV show on the Max.
Oh, right. It got repurposed during the restructuring. Yeah. And now it's going to be Lanterns with James Gunn. Okay.
Yeah. But the question is, which lantern you start up with? You got, like, if I were James Gunn, do not skip Hal. Just because basically he had a bad movie, do not skip Hal. He has to be there.
Yeah, and I think in Superman Legacy they're going to have Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner.
That'd be interesting. Except Guy is, Nathan Fillion is like what, 50?
Yes, he's up there, but he fits the character though. He's a decent casting. Mm-hmm. But can he be obnoxious? Because Guy Gardner is pretty freaking obnoxious.
He's played Green Lantern before. He voiced him in Justice League Dawn of Atlantis.
Okay, never mind. But even with that, Hal was more of a, excuse my language, folks. Hal was more of a jackass. Gardner's.
He's a jerk.
Case in point.
Jon Stewart half the time wasn't treated like an idiot.
I'll give you that.
As for Kyle, yeah, nothing really negative about him. Aside from the fact he's a bit sympathetic because of the fact that what happened with his first girlfriend.
And he was he was Hal's replacement, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And ever since Jeff Johns' Green Lantern Rebirth, Kyle Rayner has joined the likes of Tim Drake, John Kent, and Hal. They're redundant. But Kyle still has his own feats and own stories to where he stands apart.
Is it weird that he doesn't have a book right now? Hal has. John has. Though Guy has got a Becca feature in, I think it was in War Journal.
I want to say War Journal, yes.
I think it was War Journal, but Kyle's got nothing. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what was the last book he was featured? I think may have been the previous find for Green Lantern by the previous writer.
And what about Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz? They have not been used since Rebirth. Jessica Cruz has gotten a little bit more to do if you're counting Future State and what they're setting up now with the Legion, with the United Planets. But Simon Baz was practically shelved after Death Metal.
Well, last I saw him, what was in Green Lanterns, the final issue of that series. That's the last time I saw him. He was mentioned in the Green Lantern, but no appearance by him.
Tim Drake isn't redundant. Let's see. Let's go over the evidence, shall we? He went through 2 consecutive rebrands. One is a licensing and conflict of interest with Red Robin Yum. And the other, he named himself after a duck.
Yes. Thank you.
And that's not even factoring Megan Fitzmartin's role in the equation. You know what? I'm not going to rant.
Yes. Like, if we're going to give Tim Drake in our book again, do not reference Megan Fitzmartin. Say that book was not canon. And don't call, like, I would not call it Tim Drake Robin. Just call it just Robin, Tim Drake. Just swap the title around.
At the very least, if you really wanted a cake and eat it too, and I say this purely out of simplicity, either have it to where you can only do 1 or 2 situations at this point. Either fridge Bernard and have him tragically killed off, or have it to where Bernard pulls an Amber, can't really handle the pressure of the superhero lifestyle, and ultimately breaks up with Tim. The only difference, and the reason I say that, just hear me out before you throw the pitchforks at me. The reason I say that is because it is a slightly different situation. At least in the context of the show, Mark was being young and dumb and didn't trust Amber outright. He's young, he's a teenager, it's a rookie mistake all across the board. With Tim, he's actively, at least for the most part, rebounding after his breakup with Stephanie off panel. So if Bernard dumps him and calls him out in this crap, you could argue Tim deserves it.
Well, you've had a theory what happened, but DC has never explained why the heck these two broke up in the first place.
And granted, Bernard's a legacy character from Peter David's, not Peter David, excuse me, Chuck Dixon's run. Seriously, they were both, God, they're both good runs.
I think he did show up in Chuck Dixon, but last thing he popped up was when Bill Willingham wrote the book.
Yes, that is true.
When it was that story called Unmasked. If anybody's ever read Bill Willingham issues, they're good writing. Terrible artwork. They look so like grade school artwork. And this is the artist who is an adult, and yet he's doing kiddie artwork in a teenager book. Like, say it for the kiddie books.
I can understand if he's used to stuff like Scholastic and the Book Fair and those overall style, because we kind of got that with Super Sons to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a complete mismatch for the big two in terms of the superhero genre.
Because he did Robin for a very brief period of time, and he left.
I'm not going to say he's Rosmero bad, far from it, but Rosmero on Fitzmartin's Robin, but it was atrocious. It
was probably by far Robin's worst artist. Like, and I've read the entire series. The series, like the entire 100 issue run, usually had really good artists on it. Some of them are legends. Tom Lyle, I think Scott McGann did some artwork too for the book.
He did. He was a guest artist for 2 issues, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but he did do he did do the first 3 miniseries. Tom Lyle did.
That is true.
Sadly, he since passed away. But like the problem with some of the Tim Drake stuff is the fact that the book went through probably more writers than Nightwing did.
Yes. Chuck Dixon was on Nightwing, or at least that run, for pretty much a good chunk of the 90s, if not all of it.
Chuck Dixon did the first 70 issues of the book and came back for issues 101 and 106. And that was it. For Robin, he did the first 100 issues and came back for I think it was 160, I think it was. It left around 170. He told me the reason why the second run ended when it did, because he got fired for the book. And he got played with him in the season for last year of the book.
Tom Taylor's Nightwing book is so boring. I'm glad it's ending. Okay. Nightwing, and Nick and I will probably do, hopefully I can get Nick to collab with me on the Rick Grayson saga retrospective. That's gonna be fun.
Oh boy, that was the whole reason that was done because of Dan DiDio cannot take a joke.
And really, Richard that's a 50s, that's a boomer, if not Gen X name.
The thing is, here's the thing. People whose nickname for Richard is not Rick. It's either Dick or Rich.
Never
not
Rick.
That was a dumb idea. Of course, we can also talk about basically how this whole era for Nightwing has been so incoherent between writers.
It has, because granted, you did get some improvement after the Rick Grayson saga ended, after it was dragged out for 2 years for 5G setup, because you kind of had to placate Damien's fall from grace and how.
Tim Seeley did the first 35 issues, which were really, really good.
Yes.
And then as soon as he left, all those great supporting characters that you saw getting developed, gone. With the exception of the female detective, who probably occasionally afterwards, and it has been since then. The first arc that came afterwards by Sam Humphrey, that was pretty decent. And afterwards, it's like you read the Nightwing book prior to Rick Grayson stuff, it's what the heck, basically, these writers thinking? Now we've made a hologram by Ben Percy?
I honestly forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me, Nick.
Yeah, Ben Percy wrote Nightwing briefly, very, very briefly, maybe 2 issues. It's right after Tim Seeley, the book just slipped downhill in quality. I would say rock bottom was Rick Grayson.
And originally, and I actually did do a video on this. Tevye remembers profusely but the original pitch was only supposed to last for a couple of weeks, and Tim was supposed to take on the mantle of Nightwing in the original pitch.
But I'm sure Dan DiDio probably screwed that up.
No, yeah, because of the 5G stuff, and say, hey, because we kind of have to explain Damien's fall from grace anyway. So let's just pull an Injustice, have Richard get amnesia, and then kill off Alfred.
Yeah, which Tom King has stated that was not his idea. He wanted to do a fake out. He did not actually want to kill Alfred. And I believe that there's some writers that have been attempting to bring him back.
They have, but whether or not they get editorial, because it all stems on what happens with James Gunn's DCU and Joshua Williamson's Batman and Robin, because that's, for all intents and purposes, a father-son book. Either Bruce will adapt and actually step up as a parent, or Alfred will be resurrected to bail him out.
In my honest opinion, Alfred is a necessary character for Batman. He's been there for years. Killing him off was a mistake.
I agree. Though Alfred was pretty up there, even if you establish everything, regardless of how you interpret how Damien was conceived with Bruce and Talia, Alfred was at the very least 70 years old. At the very least.
Yeah, and the fact that this guy he's a trained medic, he's a trained actor, he's a good marksman, he's a good driver too, and he's also good at being a butler too. And also the fact, Like, from what I heard, he was paid really well by Bruce Wayne as a butler.
Yes, both by Bruce and his estate before Bruce was considered a legal adult.
Yeah, and then I think it was mentioned Tom Taylor after he died, Dick inherited
the stipend, or at least most of it.
He inherited Alfred's fortune, which I didn't know Alfred was even rich. And then instead of, like starting a business or just wasting it, he made it into a foundation. The Alfred Pennyworth Foundation, which I thought that was original, and then I heard that that's not original because back in the 60s, Alfred did briefly die and became something called the Outsider, which you can see it.
Hold on, your green screen's filtering it out. Hold on, you might want to. Okay, I can see it now. Hold on, lift it again. Okay, I can see it now.
Yeah, so he briefly died, and so basically Batman decided to briefly call a building the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation. And I didn't know about this guy. I read a lot of Batman comics. I kind of forgot about this until the guy who I sent you a link for is the guy who does a complete history of Batman. He mentioned it. In fact, there was Alfred Pennyworth Foundation, and we have another one right now, which I don't remember exactly what the purpose of Alfred Pennyworth Foundation is. Like they mentioned when we first got the fortune in 100. And then, like, what exactly he's done with it? Let's see. He built Titan's Tower. I think he used the finance Titans, but that's it.
He advocated for orphans in a small corner of Bloodhaven and helped topple Blockbuster's corruption.
Yes. Which, Blockbuster in Tom Taylor's was written differently than when Tim Seeley wrote them.
Yes.
I did not get that. Where you read Tom Taylor's run, he's really like Chuck Dixon's version of Blockbuster.
Yes, very imposing, almost Tombstone-like. He can walk the walk and talk the talk. Whereas in Tim Seeley, he was kind of more of a glorified goon, similar to Tony Zuko.
Yeah, and he ran a casino. Something he didn't do. And also, one thing they did not bring up in the continuity is that, see, pre-Flashpoint, he had a heart issue.
Ironic,
because he's a big guy.
No, not even that. I was saying that because you know what happens to him at the end of that arc.
Yeah, in pre-Flashpoint, he gets killed by Tarantula. She shoots him. Then she does basically nothing non-consensual with Nightwing. Then in post-Flashpoint, he gets killed by Heartless by having his heart ripped out Mortal Kombat style.
I swear, Nick, you're going to get me demonetized one of these days.
Well, people know about it for years if you don't know about it now. And is it strange DC has never collected the issue 93?
If I remember correctly, that is the same issue that nearly tanked Gail Simone's career.
Gail Simone didn't write the issue. That was Devin Grayson.
Oh, Devin Grayson, thank you. Excuse me. Why was I thinking Gail Simone? Oh, Birds of Prey. Right. Never mind. Separate issue.
As far as I can tell, she has written Dick Grayson in other books, but she's never in Nightwing. Never.
Okay.
But here's an obvious one thing we should bring up in that video. Like, who could possibly succeed Tom Taylor in Nightwing?
Definitely not Devin Grayson. Get her as far away from that book as possible.
If I were DC Comics, ask Chuck Dixon to come back to the book.
After collaborating with what's his name, Young Ripper for Ripperverse, I wouldn't be surprised if he's fully blacklisted from DC.
Because Chuck Dixon knew knew he was doing what he did in Nightwing. That's why I would trust him more than any writer.
I know, I get it. He's an all-star writer. He would actually benefit the run. Don't get me wrong. It's just a lot of the behind-the-scenes politics. You're looking at another Nick Spencer situation, and that's best case scenario.
And plus, he has his own self-published work now.
I could see if he did it as a guest writer for a volume or two, but I do not see him on a multi-year run, if I'm being realistic.
Well, if he was still alive, I would love to see Alan Grant do it.
More than likely, the gig is going to go to Joshua Williamson because he's the best writer they have on contract who's not freelanced. Mark Waid, he's technically freelance, but he's very controversial in recent years. And
Would you be surprised if DC gave it to Jason Aaron?
I would be surprised, yes.
Because I think it might be interesting for him to write a street level hero.
No, he can write street level, don't get me wrong, but Jason Aaron is too used to the Marvel style.
But like the only book he's written for DC, he's done Batman Upworld and The Missions of Action. That's it.
Yeah, but Nightwing, granted, he's not one of the Trinity, but Nightwing is too high profile for someone like Jason Aaron. Let him work with someone more obscure for a bit. Maybe a Tim Drake comic.
That might be interesting.
I'm just saying that I just don't want a repeat of Bendis where you chase a high profile writer, get him contracted, and then he completely derails the book.
And if you're going to say it's Dan Jurgens and Caesar, they've already written the book.
Yep.
Under Rick Grayson. Which when I heard that when Dan Jurgens selected the writer for Nightwing, I'm like, really? Dan Jurgens, the guy known for writing Superman, does Nightwing.
Wait, didn't he do Batman Beyond Rebirth, or was he the artist on that?
He was the writer.
Okay. Because that book got canceled just before Rick Grayson saw it. That's probably why he got that gig.
Yes, they ended that run for Batman Beyond issue 50. I'm trying to think what's be good.
We don't have a lot of people contracted. Joshua Williamson is stretched way too thin.
Yes, especially since he's doing Green Arrow, Batman and Robin, Superman. He's also doing Duke and Cobra Commander over at Image. Like, here's somebody. Bring him in for like Justice League Volume 2. Like, because he hasn't done anything since he wrote Lois Lane. Bring in Greg Rucka.
Greg Rucka on Nightwing.
Yes.
That's a hard card to play, man. That could go one or two ways.
I mean, he's written a lot of Batman books, so I'm sure he's used to writing Nightwing. And I'm sure he probably had a lot of respect for Chuck Dixon the way he wrote. Rucka, I heard that, of course, in 2000 he had a very terrible time in early 2000s because of the change of editors.
Yep.
From Danny O'Neill to Bob Schreck.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when he did Lois Lane, it was like his first book he did since he wrapped his run for Wonder Woman.
He did, because his run on Wonder Woman, I believe, was in the early 90s.
No. His run actually was mid-2000s.
Okay.
It lasted 4 years. As a matter of fact, he was the last writer of Volume 2 before it got relaunched in Volume 3 by Alan Horn, who basically took a whole year to publish 5 issues and an annual. Yellow Small might be interesting, but she hasn't a book for DC Comics in 2018.
Seriously, there's not a lot. Sure, we can name freelancers all day, but there's not a lot of people on DC that are not either overload on other books. I guess based on what we have available, you could get Mark Waid to do Nightwing, but I just wouldn't trust him.
Oh, here's one. How about Philip Kennedy Johnson?
That could work.
He's not overloaded. I think he only does like 2 books.
But isn't he doing a lot of indies right now?
He's doing Incredible Hulk over Marvel. He does Green Lantern War Journal. I think that's it. He might be interesting. Another one might be interesting. Peter J. Tomasi. He has written Dick Grayson before.
He has.
I could see him work. I could see him doing it. Tim Seeley, I could not see him come back because I think he's done with Nightwing.
Yeah, I could see Tim Seeley coming back, not going to lie.
Not James Tynion. He did what he didn't want to do with Nightwing. He's done. He did. Like, the only thing he does, like, as of right now, he does nothing for DC right now.
Yeah, he is completely done.
Yeah, ever since they wrapped up the second Nightmare Country miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love the stuff he did for for Batman. I love Batman run.
Oh, that
another really good writer. I think he still works for DC. Ram V.
Ram V is very caught up in his soap opera detective comics arc right now, and at least in my opinion, is very dragged out. If you want more detail on that, please check our solicitation video from 2 days. I want to say yesterday, but
because I think Detective Comics. I think Venom is in the book he's working right now.
Yeah, I just feel like that's a little dragged out. But depending on the editorial staff, he could pull it off. I'm not gonna hold too much against him.
Well, I would think Charles Zardesky, but he's too busy with Batman.
Yeah, Zdarsky's. I'll probably do a video on this as well, but Zdarsky's run is starting to fall off, in my opinion. I mean, some of it is editorial. Don't get me wrong, but he's kind of all over the place. The whole
one person might be interesting because he has done anything with DC for a while, such as he's doing their book for Valiant soon. Jody Hauser.
Ooh. Okay.
The other book she did, here's the weird thing. The only book she ever did for DC was Meta Panic. The first and second series and the Milk Wars one shot, and she also did Supergirl.
I remember that.
And that was it. She didn't do a lot for DC. I could see her doing Nightwing.
Yeah, I can see that too.
But currently, the only book she's doing now is Faith Returns. And that was just after she finished doing her D&D stuff over at Dark Horse.
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, I could definitely see her doing it. Another writer who might be interesting. I don't know if he's exclusive to Marvel, but he might be really good for Nightwing. Jed McKay.
He can pull it off.
Yeah. I don't know if he's exclusive to Marvel, is he? Because he does like 3 titles Marvel. He does Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, and Avengers.
I'd be interested. In that, actually.
Bendis, I could not see him do Nightwing right now since he's all doing whatever he does at Dark Horse now. So he's out.
Bendis has fallen off in his old age, but his best work was street level.
Yeah. Though I did enjoy his Batman Universe book. It's a shame that he never did a regular Bat book, aside from the miniseries. Because I heard he was afraid to do Batman.
Yeah, the fan expectation for Batman is notorious.
Yeah.
If he threw that out, he would have gotten even more fight than he would have gotten for Superman.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I think good artists who could do it. How about David Finch?
He's a good choice. What about Patrick Gleason?
He might be good too. Oh, a writer who has done it in a while. She might be perfect for Nightwing. David's wife, Meredith.
I agree.
It's a shame she doesn't do any books right now.
It is. Real shame.
Because, like, if you look at her career, she hasn't done a lot. She did miniseries with Xenoscope, like Little Mermaid. She had a run for Wonder Woman. She did Catwoman Election Night. She did some Conan books of Marvel. She did a Xena book, Rose, and that's meant for her. Did you ever read her Wonder Woman book?
I did.
I thought it was really good.
I did. It's no Greg Rucka or George Perez, but it was a good run for what it was.
Yeah. And in case some of you are wondering, has George Perez ever written for Nightwing? He has. Years ago. Oh, wait, speaking of another writer who could potentially write for Nightwing, he's never written a Nightwing book, not that I can think of, no. Marv Wolfman.
Is he still alive?
Yes. He's 80.
Okay. It's George Perez I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Yeah. Are you eating Sammy J Heat?
Yes, I had something to eat.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
It's fine.
But please continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's fine. It might be interesting for him to do this book. He hasn't done anything in years. I think the last book he did was a Suicide Squad book. What if John Ostrander wrote Nightwing?
Now, I'm a little unfamiliar with his work.
He did Suicide Squad. He did a volume for Spectre. He did Martian Manhunter. He did Star Wars Legacy over at Dark Horse. He also did a run. He did a run for Punisher, Heroes for Hire. The guy is really good. Because the last book I know he ever did was Suicide Squad War Crimes. And you could tell he wrote the book because he had Waller call Captain Boomer Butt. That was a recurring gag in this whole. She loved calling him that because if you ever read his Suicide Squad book, it is amazing. Like what characters pulls out of the woodwork or who's part of that book. Like people like he basically brought back Shay the Changing Man, the Steve Ditko version for a run. He brought back Mark Shaw and did a whole ongoing series for him.
The Manhunter?
Yeah.
And this was before Bendis's Event Leviathan.
This is back in the 80s.
Nice.
If you ever get a chance to read it, it's a really good book. The run's only 24 issues. But sadly, one issue of that whole run's in trade, and it was a tie-in to the Jones Directive. You would think, good book like that one? Nope. DC rather not collect it. They rather just do nothing with Manhunter.
A real shame. A real shame because he did say what you will about Event Leviathan, but that was a real opportunity to bring Shaw back, if I'm being completely honest.
And now he's been killed off. He got killed off in their book, possibly. I think it was in Checkmate.
I want to say so as well.
Yeah, I actually like Checkmate, the Bendis book, because I thought the book was really good. It felt like Checkmate. Like, it had a similar feeling to when Greg Rucker wrote the book. The lineup was interesting. I love the lineup. They have a book like Green Arrow, Dr. Rucker Bones. Great book. And I think a lot of this got wrapped up like another series that version of Checkmate. Like, it's like Bendis brought back Checkmate to prominence, and then like it got brought up in their book, and then nothing. I think it got brought up in. I think they wrapped up the Checkmate stuff in his run for Justice League, but then like nothing.
I agree.
Because Checkmate is a like unless you're a hardcore comic fan, the only time you may have heard the name Checkmate is maybe in Smallville, or possibly Justice League. But that's been the TV show. That's been pretty much it for Checkmate.
I agree.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Wally part of the group in Smallville, that came just after Greg Rucker wrote the book because she was originally part of the Checkmate originally. Harvey Bullock was. He was one of the. He was one of the higher ups. I think he was like the White King. Which is strange. Why would they create the tech to like him be one of the Checkmate agents? I thought it was weird, but it was a good way to connect it to the regular Marvel, the DC universe as a whole.
I agree.
You find it weird though the fact the character like Renee Montoya, a character debuted in the 90s, is now the commissioner of the GCPD.
She's come a long way. She is.
Yeah, and there's also briefly, he would forget about this, Harvey Bullock was commissioner briefly.
Dear God.
It was like during TNT he wrote the book, and then he resigned at the Joker War. Gordon has not.
Later.
Yeah. Gordon has stepped off the events of the infected stuff.
And then he ended up on the Joker book, which really was the Scott, which really was a Jim Gordon book.
Yep. It was good. I love the Joker book by James Tynion. Shame the book got the end, after only like 17 issues in an annual.
A real shame.
Yep. What the cool about the book, it introduced Bane's daughter, Vengeance.
Yeah,
and
wait,
though the fact that, like the whole book, she's after the Joker, and I'm like, you're super strong, Vengeance, and you don't punch Joker once.
it's crazy.
And it seems so contrasting the fact team, right, where Gordon would work with the Joker, the same man who shot his daughter and killed his wife, which that book actually brought in Sarah Essen into continuity. Sarah Essen was the second wife.
I remember.
Yeah, they reference the fact she definitely existed, except she's dead. Yeah, they apparently made No Man's Land canon.
I thought it was always canon. They just They just keep retreading it.
Retreading. I know that in Tinian's run that they officially mentioned Cataclysm as canon. The one event the DC kept canon, because if they did not keep it canon, they basically got death threats for it. Nightfall.
Okay, you had to keep that. Like, come on.
Yeah, and for a long time they kept denying, and then they said it was canon, and they kept denying it was canon. Death of Superman.
Wait, are we talking about are we still talking about the New 52 or
New 52? They kept saying it was canon and it wasn't canon. It was confusing.
Yeah, there's a reason the New 52 imploded within the span of 5 years. I know Jared doesn't like to hear that, but it's the objective truth.
It has some good books, though.
Heroes in Crisis is... Wait, what? Oh, Green Arrow. I'm about to say. About to say. Okay, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain or should I, Nick?
That Green Arrow is going to Green Lantern?
No, the Heroes in Crisis stuff, because basically, Amanda Waller, spoilers for the comic, mind you, Amanda Waller makes a deal with Green Arrow to steal some intel off Sanctuary for her. In exchange, she'll help him lead to Malcolm Merlin. So it's another renegade Green Arrow story.
Yeah, but it's Sanctuary shut down.
Yeah, since Heroes in Crisis, but it's a story. It's a storyline that a lot of people like to forget. But dreading back that old wound just to set up another event, I just feel like it might blow up in DC's face.
Yeah, like the thing with Absolute Power, I kind of wish I knew what exactly the whole story was. Like, what's it going to be about? It's like, what's the purpose of Absolute Power?
Because again, they're still trying to set everything up, and now they're given a time crunch by the higher ups. So hey, this is going to be our new summer blockbuster. Me personally, I would have saved this for next year and just gave these books a couple more months. I would have just rolled the year out, allowed the brand to recover from Night Terrors, and then have Absolute Power.
Yeah, but Night Terrors only lasted for 2 months and didn't have regular ongoing series stories interrupted. Series went hiatus for a couple months, but at least have stories interrupted, which that was different for DC. Though technically not the first time this is only the second time this, because last time this was for Convergence back in 2015.
Yep. And Night Terrors, it's not too bad of a story. It's just bloated. Especially with 40 freaking tie-ins.
And all of them basically 2 issues. Or 3.
Oh.
And top of that, they had the mini-series, which is 4 issues. Like, do we need to have all the books that were ongoing going hiatus for 2 months for this? No. We need this. I wouldn't mind an issue of the regular issue of the book tying this, but the 2-issue miniseries. Oh, and Barnes Noble does sell the trades they collected, and the books are this thick.
Hold on, let me solo you for a second. That way you can get a full understanding. You mind one more time?
It's that thick. It is a thick book.
Jesus.
Yes, and I think I did see the books. Each books were like $50 a piece. Hardcover, mind you.
Lazarus Planet. Okay, Lazarus Planet was just self-contained. Like that was a payoff to a much larger arc.
And plus, there was a series of one-shots.
So again, that was largely self-contained.
That led to a quick miniseries, and they led mostly to Wonder Woman, but nothing else.
Yeah. Gotham War, and we have done a video on this. What's the most positive thing I could say about Gotham War? It tried to follow up the Tom King stuff despite 5G. It tried.
Mm-hmm.
But in execution, it just makes Selena look bad because all it does, like, I get it. You're rounding up these henchmen. You're trying to take them away from the supervillains. But this is not a well thought out plan at all. Red Hood and Under the Red Hood taking out the majority of the crime bosses and starting a gang war with Black Mask was better thought out than this.
And speaking of Black Mask, when was the last time you saw him in a comic?
Birds of Prey. I had to. I had to.
I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about comic wise.
Okay.
I can think of he was seen. Red Hood and the Outlaws Volume 2 by Scott Lobdell.
Yes,
we had that BDM mask where it's like leather with a zipper in front of it. He had that, and underneath it was this supernatural mask. And that was the last time I saw him.
I didn't like that design. It reminded me of that one cat mob boss from Invincible. I just didn't like that design.
And here's the strange thing people may forget about Black Mask. He's a creation of Doug Moak. And what famous character did he create over Marvel Comics? Moon Knight.
Right.
Yes, he created Moon Knight. He's a character. He's a creator we don't hear from nowadays. Like, no one's heard anything from this guy in 20 years.
He kind of fell off the ether, not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to him. Like, as far as I can tell, he's not listed being dead. He's not dead. I've not heard any appearances of him going to Comic-Con. You would think, basically, people would invite him to go to Comic-Cons because there are people who do like his work. Especially, well, he worked a lot with Kelly Jones. But I think we probably could do a video of, like, some Batman creators since passed away and what the contributions did for Batman. That'd be an interesting video for us to do.
Oh, definitely. That's definitely. I wouldn't mind clapping for that at all.
Because a lot of really good ones have since passed away.
Isn't Mark Spector Moon Knight dead now?
Yes.
Canonically, yes.
Supposedly, but never confirmed. They never saw a body. He died in an explosion. Fighting the Black Spectre. He's an old Moon Knight villain, though it's not the original Black Spectre because he killed the previous guy who was Black Spectre by shoving him off a building. During the David Hayward for the Volume 3 Moon Knight in the early 2000s. It was the mid 2000s run, one of the last 30 issues. The same thing as his previous run did. And the last arc basically had him team with the Punisher.
Speaking of the Punisher, I heard they tried to revamp the title recently, and it bombed after 4 issues. Like what? Like how bad was it? I'm genuinely curious.
It was interesting, especially since in the first issue he killed Mr. Hyde.
Like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or
Marvel Mr. Hyde.
Oh, okay.
The one who was the father of Daisy Johnson, aka Quake. Yeah, one of 2 villains he killed off in the book, and he killed off some other random people. Like the one person I really wanted to kill off was Meteor Man because I don't care about this guy at all. He's a terrible villain, and He is once like people think that Vulture is a terrible Spider-Man villain. Meteor Man is terrible.
He's just not a good villain. He's just not a good villain.
Like, here's the weird thing: Jen McKay reformed 8-Ball. Even if it was 8-Ball, he's a C-list film of Marvel who occasionally makes cameos when they do Bar with No Name. Which it's a villain's bar that has no entrance. As a matter of fact, how people get there is questionable. And the locations across the whole country. There was one bar with no name that was infamous for where about 30 villains got killed off in one issue by the Scourge and the World.
I don't care about. Wait, so it's not Frank Castle in this Punisher recent.
Nope. Joe Garrison's an ex-Shield agent who got
Who's
the
Joe Garrison?
backstory as Punisher.
Was this an original character or is he an obscure? Okay.
Yeah, I read the book. I'm like, I was surprised it lasted 4 issues.
That bad?
Yeah, and I'm like, I get the reason people didn't buy it because this wasn't Frank Castle.
This sounds like someone who. I feel like this sounds like a very generic retread. Like they don't want to. If you didn't want to use the logo anymore, fine, relatively speaking, but a literal copy paste. Like, let me guess: this Joe Garrison lost his family to mobsters, is hunted by the government. Am I in the right ballpark? Is this just a copy and paste of Frank Castle?
Like his suit is slightly different. Like, you know how a basic Punisher skull was white? Joe Garrison was green.
Why not just go for black?
The skull on his bodysuit is green.
Okay. Okay.
And the fact he's like mostly bald. He's also ex-military.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up, Tevye.
Like, if I were Marvel Comics, like create like a Ridge Punisher, like, here's the thing I would have done. Bring in the 29 character president, have him act as a Punisher, because he's a lot more interesting as Punisher than this new guy was.
Yeah, you don't really see Punisher 29 that often. I don't think he's gotten even 3 series to his name.
Last time he appeared was in like the most recent 29 book.
Hmm.
And I'm like, show me the heart to track down a good writer for him. Like,
ex-Shield agent. Okay.
Yeah, and the fact that his sister, like, thing is, he didn't mention have a wife. His basically his mother and sister were killed by the future version of basically the guy who later became Venom 2099, who is also Miguel's half brother.
What a twist! But yeah, I've known that for a while now.
Yeah, and the fact that his grandfather is an obscure Iron Man villain.
How obscure?
Stone. Yeah, he popped up in Dan Slott's run for Superior Spider-Man. Well, actually, first he popped up in Amazing Spider-Man, working for Max Modell. Like, I didn't know who the heck this guy was, and they're like, oh, he first appeared in Iron Man by Kurt Busiek, and it was retconned by Dan Slott that this guy is Miguel's grandfather. He's Tiberius Stone's father. And the whole story was like he had to protect him because he was fading away. And the weird thing is that the recent 29 version does not mention the first period David came up with, one where he's a parent. This one is basically just like there's no mention of that at all. It's like this one is the version that popped up when Nick Spencer wrote 2099. It's a rebooted version of that one. And he's had a few miniseries since then. His previous miniseries, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. That I think was issue 3 of the previous one he did. That was going to be his 100th issue overall. And I counted. They actually were correct on this. I'm glad he got one.
That's good. He did over 100 issues.
And recently, Peter David did another Cinematic Spider-Man. and it's focused on Miguel O'Hara this time. And apparently, it takes place just after Peter David left the book. Like his last issue was 44, the first volume, because he did the last two, so it was somebody else. The story goes is that the editor who did 29 books was fired, so all the writers quit. So Marvel was forced to wrap up their series hastily because of it.
If that's not dedication, I don't know what is.
Yeah. And here's the weird thing. The first one, 2099, Marvel has still not finished collecting it yet. They have like about 10 issues left to collect. They got like 35.
Tevye says at J Heat Blaze, speaking of Superior Spider-Man book, I think that book is ending soon with the latest solicitation confirming it says Superior Spider-Man no more.
Possibly, I'm not sure, but at least can hand this book. Slott basically, when he doing this book, at least he does a better job than he was doing when he was doing Amazing Spider-Man toward the end of his run, because I can't say this though, when he wrote those last couple of years, he was running out of ideas.
He was. It was
painfully
obvious too.
Other people were begging Marvel, please remove Dan Slott from the book. And he didn't leave to 801. The one thing I at least appreciate though is the fact that Don Nicolas undid him killing off Flash Thompson.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, one of two deaths that was undone in a very short span of time. Nick Spencer undid the death of Electro.
That's right. Electro was dead for a long time. Like what, 5 years?
He was dead for 3 years.
Okay, my mistake.
He got killed in the third issue of, I believe it was the relaunch of Amazing Spider-Man right after Superior Spider-Man. And that was like in 20... I think that was like 2015, I think it was. And then he got brought back. Toward the end of the expenses run for the book, where he had Dr. Octopus bring him back.
Okay. Which the current Amazing Spider-Man, which the current Amazing Spider-Man book is bad right now, and I hate to say it, I would rather have Dan Slott back in the book over Zeb Wells. Hot take, Tevye. Hot take.
I hope he ends his run soon, because it's like it's been declining.
I don't think it ever had a pop. I mean,
it had a start for it, but like the stuff I like the Hobgoblin stuff they did for the book. I thought that Darko was okay, not terrible. I know Tiffy hates it. First Hunt was weird, where it's like it's following up with two plot threads from two different raiders. Like it, actually, like three. It brings in the last son Craven, the clone, the spear that apparently has a spearhead has the sins of Norman Osborn, and Red Goblin.
Wait, did you just say a spear that has the sins of Norman Osborn?
Yes. Which you read this book, it's like anytime he brings this up, it's like Zeb Wells does not understand Nick Spencer's time in the book. And I had to be right back.
Okay, I am completely confused. So someone needs to explain that to me. Well, waiting on that, I hated Dark Rep. Ruined Scarlet Spider. Is there going to be a new Avatar? Now, I heard, correct me if I could be wrong, but thank you for this question, Nemo. But I heard that there's going to be a Avatar Atla movie in 2025 based on the original cast. But whether or not we're going to get a new generation show after Korra remains to be seen. Now, if you want my honest opinion on The Legend of Korra, as for this original, the first season, book one was relatively self-contained, and it was fine for a miniseries. It was fine. And then you had a bit of a retreading in season two, the whole Dark Avatar with Rava and Unalaq, and the Avatar cycle. If you're going to go in Legend of Korra with nostalgia bias, you're not going to have a good time. I'm just going to go ahead and be honest with you. But the legacy characters, Aang's children and grandchildren, they pretty much carry the show. Bolin works well as Sokka Light. Mako's just a pretty boy who can't really make up his mind and fumbles the bag in arguably the worst way possible. And Asami, a little shallow, but hey, you need a love interest somehow, so I'm not really gonna complain about that. But from what I do remember on Legend of Korra, the ratings were so bad that people couldn't even bait them to watch it after SpongeBob. Now, people would just randomly watch a random episode of SpongeBob, then Legend of Korra would come on next, and people would either change the channel or turn that off, from what I've heard. And as for what about the Legend of Genji, I'm pretty sure that's a fan project. If that's been confirmed, I have no idea.
Okay, to explain the sins of Norman Osborn stuff. When Nick Spencer wrote Amazing Spider-Man, he had this recurring villain known as the Kindred in the book. He resurrected in the book the Sin Eater, as in the Sin Eater from Peter David's Spectacular Spider from the 80s. He brought him back and used him to shoot Norman Osborn to rid him of his sins, to make him a good guy.
Out of any way to make Norman Osborn redeemable, jeez.
Yes. And and then you read the book, and it's like, okay, he got rid of his sins. And then Zeb Wells you read the book, and it's like, does Zeb Wells not read Nick Spencer's run for Amazing Spider-Man? And somehow the sins get transferred to Spear, and then they Spider-Man evil like Norman Osborn. And then after that was fixed, thanks to me stabbed again with the same spear, Kraven's like, yeah, I'm going to bury in a big hole and do a ritual and never bother you again. Red Goblin just does whatever. And then the book ends with Norman Osborn have a hint that the evil may have returned to him. And apparently Cindy are also using the Juggernaut.
I know this year marks the anniversary of the death of Gwen Stacy in 1974. So have they done anything to reference that in any way, and gave Gwen Stacy a role?
Spencer wrote the book. He met Spider-Gwen. And the way it's written is like he was actually quite surprised to see a version of Gwen Stacy alive and well and have spider powers. It happened issue 50.
Because they never officially met in the comics. That's right.
Yeah. And she knows all about the fact that Norman killed her counterpart there. She knew all about it. But Norman doesn't really much exist on her Earth at all. There's not much to do with her. Did you hear they're bringing back the Spider-Man Ghost Spider book as a series?
That was actually a pretty good book, not going to lie. Yeah. At least X-Men 97 is doing well. People are rallying for a Spider-Man 98 series. I just don't trust today's writers. They don't have the nuances those writers did back then.
I honestly haven't seen X-Men 97 yet, so
it's decent, but I want to see the whole show in its entirety, not just nostalgia bait from the premiere alone. But it was a decent start.
Mm-hmm. If you want to bring a show back that people liked, you could do a proper conclusion with, bring back Silver Surfer, the animated series. Adapt the scripts they were going to do for season 2. That show was absolutely amazing. And the other reason the show ended, not because of low ratings, Marvel's bankruptcy.
That's 1991.
Actually, it was 95, 96 the bankruptcy was.
Oh. I thought it was earlier than that. My mistake.
It was late 90s. I also kind of wish that Spider-Man Unlimited would get a proper conclusion. Because it ended on a cliffhanger.
Wasn't Spider-Man Unlimited considered the sequel to Spider-Man 98?
Kind of, yes, but different animation style and I think different voice actors.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can almost remember in the back of my head an MTV Spider-Man show that was so horrendously bad.
Oh yeah, I watched it. It's supposed to have the Spider-Man 2. It is completely CGI. And here, you might laugh at this. Kraven the Hunter's in the show, and he's voiced by Michael Dorn. They feature Silver Sable, who died in the show.
Oh God.
And this is set basically kind of like an alternate version of Spider-Man 2. Actually, after Spider-Man 2, like 03. Yeah, this is after Spider-Man 1. Like, oh my, yeah. The series was terrible. It lasted for 1 year and got canceled.
It was so bad, Peter effectively quit being Spider-Man.
Yeah. Spider-Man Limited, if you see it, it's like weird things. It was like Venom and Carnage look completely different than they did in the Spider-Man show. Heck, this show features the first appearance, I think it was the first one, the first appearance of High Evolutionary. And he looks so different. You know, like the Kirby game back, Kirby people think of when they think of High Evolutionary. Here it's an old man who is looks very beefy, and like, okay, he runs counter like he does in the comics, and his police officers are the New Men. And it was one episode that was so hilarious. There was a thing, remember New Men, which Peter worked for that version of Daily Bugle. And they had it where in one episode he took pictures of Spider-Man and his female New Men to imply the fact these two were a couple. And it was so funny.
That's because DC beat them to it with Batman Beyond.
They kind of did have a verse Spider-Man 29 period animation prior to Across the Spider-Verse. In Ultimate Spider-Man, and his whole world was CGI. It didn't look too good at all. It's like that's they did a version of Spider-Verse where you have no one else where Spider-Verse just try to kill off all the Spider-Man. And they go to Spider-Man 2099 and it's CGI. I'm like, what? Heck, they feature a Spider-Woman show, and she's basically Batgirl.
Pretty much. Wait, I thought this project got delayed. Spider-Man freshman year. I thought that was scrapped.
News to me.
I guess not. But Neil Patrick
Harris Spider-Man?
Gosh. I'm sorry, I just can't see it. I just can't see it. Hold on.
He voiced Nightwing from Under the Red Hood.
Yeah, but that was a celebrity cameo. That was only a couple of lines.
Oh, he was in there. He had much more lines than that. He was in the first quarter of the movie. Then he got removed because of injured. But he was funny. Absolutely hilarious. He's got lasers. Which superheroes? Big ones. Despite the fact that the comic was an older model of Amazo. I mean, it seems so complete out there. Amazo and Batman. A Justice League like Amazo. It seems so hilarious. And this is Judd Winnick who wrote this book. And he wrote the adaptation.
Oh man.
Isn't it weird though? This was actually one of 2 movies he ever wrote.
Yep.
It's weird, but I don't know, it was awesome. I kind of wish this was connected to the I kind of wish they would have like a connected to movies, and that was like a really good adaptation. I think the ending was slightly different from the comic, but the movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because Jason does technically escape in both versions, but it's slightly different.
Yeah, we don't have Clayface show up claiming he's Jason Todd.
That was in Hush.
Yeah, and they also released that issue where Jason survived in Batman 25.
And I actually had planned to do a what if on the channel, but I never got around to it. But more than likely, it co-aligned with my opinion that Jason would likely be shelved in a coma.
Yeah. And speaking of Jason, I have this miniseries. Is he really doing anything aside from this? Like, once series wraps up, what is he doing next?
Should we try and I don't want try to dial back on the Spider-Man for a while because you don't want to repeat a Batman where he's oversaturated. So let's just enjoy what we have right now and see where the brand leads. Sometimes you got to plan more than one step ahead.
One thing I would love to see them do, how about an animated Spider-Man movie, not freshman year, where it's like an adaptation of a Spider-Man storyline, kind of similar what DC does with their movies.
Which story in particular? The Death of Gwen Stacy, One More Day, Original Sin, Craven's Last Hunt.
I would basically do. Let's see. Ooh, how about I'm trying to think what was a good one. Let's see. There's trying to think. Not Clone Saga. We're not doing that one.
Oh God, no.
Let's see. The Gauntlet.
I can see that.
That book was good. Like, Gauntlet is amazing.
Very solid comedy. Jay, like, speak quick. Okay, Nick, this question's for you.
Quite on set. Oh boy, that document's messed up. Can of worms? What?
Okay. For context, I might as well pull the banner for this because this is a pretty dark topic. I might as well pull the banner for this. Where is it? Here it is. There was a recent document series highlighting some of the sleazier things that go on in Hollywood, particularly with young live action actors during the respective sitcoms such as Drake and Josh, The Amanda Show, and along those lines. Mostly Dan Snyder involved. That's the most tame I could say it without going into too much detail.
Is some of the with Harvey Weinstein?
I've only seen clips of it, but at least from what I've seen, they haven't gone to a whole lot of detail. I think they mostly focus on Dan Snyder and his shows.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably all I'm going to mention on that because I don't know whether any young viewers are in the audience. With a new
X-Men potentially some movies for that one.
I really wish I was on this panel to talk about this topic. Probably better for a separate stream, Tevia, but I appreciate the initiative.
Yeah.
With a new MCU, who, assuming they even get rebranded, because there's two ways this could go. They could reboot and keep what they already have, or they could expand and restructure. It really just depends.
I know that Phase 4 is, for some people, was a bit of a miss.
Mostly hit and miss.
I haven't seen all of Phase 4. There's like 3 movies I haven't seen from that phase. I have not seen Eternals, Doctor Strange Multiverse Menace, and Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. I've not seen those 3. The rest I have seen.
From what I've seen, you're more than welcome to, if you ever take the time to watch them, form your own opinion. But Quantumania, I believe it was a cruise liner that inevitably got a theatrical release. It still wasn't very good. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was meh.
I think the Marvels was Phase 5, wasn't it?
Yes, Marvels is considered Phase 5. And let me tell you, it was not good.
One movie I thought was really good, Phase 5, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I think that's the only good movie in Phase 5 right now, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, it was good. It's interesting the fact that you find kind of weird though that all 3 films featured the main villain, who is the cosmic villain created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and 2 of whom made debut in Thor. Because first you had Ronan, and then Ego, and then High Evolutionary.
Why is all the writing so far awful?
I actually like Shang-Chi. The Shang-Chi that was a really good movie. I know it was a movie that I heard China didn't really care for.
A little generic, not gonna lie, but I wouldn't say it was bad.
I would say it finally featured a manager who was actually Asian, and it was not like a racist stereotype.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't talk about Iron Man 3.
It's weird that they made him the father of Shang-Chi, but it was probably better than having Fu Manchu as his father. In the comics, that's who he was, Fu Manchu.
Now, Spider-Man: No Way Home is not strictly MCU. That was a collaboration between them and Sony, and Sony got the majority.
That was the end of Phase 3.
Right at the end of Phase 3, it was an epilogue movie for. No wait, that was No Way Home. No wait, that was Far From Home. Far From Home was the end of Phase 3. No Way Home was the end of Phase 4, and now we don't have a Spider-Man project going into Phase 5.
The only reason why that we had that movie is because originally Disney and Sony basically had the deal fell apart, and then Sony's the stock dropped, and they had to renegotiate.
Pretty much left over to pay Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to come back. Though the masks were CGI.
If you hear rumors that they're trying to do sequels to the last movies they released, like they're trying to do Spider-Man 4 and possibly Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Amazing Spider-Man 3 is the likely of the two, not going to lie, because Tobey Maguire, he's like 45, 47 years old. Like, and what real story can you really have at that point? Now, granted, you can have Spider-Man, Mary Jane, have a family, all that, but what real villain can you have other than somehow bringing Venom back? Because the only real consistent villain a grown adult Peter Parker with a family had was Venom, who targeted MJ and their kid just to piss him off.
Yep. I did hear a reason why we never, because No Way Home featured Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Sandman, the Lizard, Electro.
Amazing Spider-Man 3 is likely going to be Sinister Six.
Yes. The villains popped that movie. The reason why we didn't see villains prior to that, the reason I heard Kawaki say he did not reuse villains that were seen before. That's why we got Vulture and Mysterio.
That is true.
Which I got to admit, that was actually a smart idea because Vulture was hinted in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but we never had a live actor to play him. And then we finally had one. Michael Keaton.
His Batman is still better, though.
I think he did a pretty good job. I like the fact they call him Old Man because he is Old Man in the comics. So
I meant from Batman 89. I wasn't talking about Flash.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Hello?
he was Old Man in Spider-Man Homecoming. You still there, Jay? Jay? This is weird. Yeah, Jay just froze for some reason.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Yeah. So
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah, it was the Spider-Man Homecoming where they had one of his villains, one of his henchmen called him Old Man. Like I'm trying to think like who has not been featured yet. Of course, we are kind of getting Craven Hunter, though he's more like Catman than Craven Hunter.
Rhino, well, he got a cameo in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, but that version was terrible.
Carnage, he was featured in Venom 2.
I'm trying to think here. Ooh, we technically didn't have versions. We did see Scorpion on screen. We see Matt Gorgon, but never a Scorpion suit.
Yeah, that's one.
Trying to think. We already had Wilson Fisk.
Multiple versions.
We already had Shocker.
Sorry, I have to do it. Wait, should I do it? Let us know in the comments. Should I do it? Should I do the bit?
What, Pika Shades?
No. The from the Spider-Man series. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. It was a major wasted opportunity in the Spider-Man 2 video game.
Hobgoblin?
Okay.
We never got Hobgoblin live action.
We never have, actually. That's actually a good point. But I'll just go ahead and do it. Shaka! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth! I'm sorry.
I think like what other villain not featured yet for Spider-Man besides Scorpion and the Chameleon's not featured yet.
Wait, I'm pretty sure we got at least one live action adaptation of Chameleon.
Kind of, but that wasn't far from. I wasn't far from home, and he wasn't shapeshifting. I'm trying to think. We never seen a Jackal live action.
Jackal's pretty hard to do, not gonna lie.
Yeah, especially involves a lot of cloning. Hammerhead.
I can see Hammerhead.
How about Silvermane?
Silverbang?
Silvermane, the one who was an old man gangster who later became an android.
Oh, okay, now I remember. He'd be good for a more grounded story. Maybe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4 is more grounded by the concept of family, how he's been superheroing for 10 years. Yeah, he's good for a more grounded story. Silver Sable.
Tombstone.
That you might as well be doing a Kingpin movie at that point with Tombstone as a supporting villain.
Though he also be a good leader because basically he's a gang leader in the comics.
That is true.
But the thing is, he's not an albino. He just got chalk white skin. That's what we describe Tombstone.
Can't believe we've been at this for 3 hours.
Yes. I'm trying to think who else is not featured yet for Spider-Man 1. Probably not Screwball. I don't think we'll get Screwball.
Yeah, that's very unlikely.
And same thing with Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they do, it's like probably a brief scene with them. That's probably it. And Punch, we never technically have a version of Black Cat live action.
No, I was thinking of Catwoman from Dark Knight Rises. Never mind. But Anne Hathaway would be a good casting choice.
Yeah, but we kind of had it in Main Spider-Man 2, but she's called Felicia. I think that was kind of supposed to be Black Cat, but they never confirmed it. But we never technically have had Black Cat live action. Well, I'd say like all the big villains have already been adapted already for Spider-Man. Like, who else is left?
Just don't do the horrible gang storyline, which is bad and the garbage. Gang War, again, I fell off Marvel years ago, so I wouldn't really have much of an opinion of this. Nick, what did you think of Gang War?
I thought it was interesting. I like the fact that one thing was really cool about it is the fact they show a map in New York and show like who controls which territory. Like they even have where Madame Mask control territory. The group of people from the Shang-Chi book that Jean Gang wrote, the guy who wrote New Superman.
Mm-hmm.
They're involved in this war. Madame Mask was interesting because she's not a Spider-Man villain, and that her father tried to murder her in the prologue to it, which is weird.
Very.
Like I'm thinking like Madame Mask, an Iron Man character, and also Hydra was involved in this storyline, which like what?
It sounds like it was just very bloated, at least from what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's like it was spread to 7 different titles. Initially, I thought Spider-Man was going to be a mini-series. It was time for Gang War. And then it became ongoing with issue 5. Which, fine. The storyline for her book was interesting because her son was missing. And then she finds out her son's been aged up. And apparently people forgot the fact she has a son. Everybody did. And apparently he was raised by Hydra. And it all stems from End of Spider-Verse when she briefly died. So thank you, Stan Slott, for basically creating the storyline for Spider-Woman. End of Spider-Verse is an interesting story, but it's like, okay, so like the main villain is somebody who was very obscure. It's like, okay, so this woman was more dangerous than Moreland and his family. Which to me made no sense at all.
There's a reason I walked away from Marvel, not going to lie.
I would recommend if you try to take a good title from Marvel, try Venture by Jed McKay. Probably also check out his previous Moon Knight book too. Doctor Strange. That's really good. Yeah. Avengers by Jed McKay, which is really good. I think that's a good book. Immortal Thor by Al Ewing. Incredible Hulk by Bill K. Johnson. She-Hulk. Well, it's not She-Hulk now, written by Rainbow. The only X book I would probably recommend that's actually good is X-Force and Wolverine.
And I did hear that they're going to have 9 new X-Men titles coming out. Now, is the Krakoa title officially ended, or they're just restructuring? Because Fall's X is still going on.
When it wraps up, Krakoa's done. They're changing status quo. There's like 3 new X titles. One where it's a team of X-Men led by Cyclops, headquartered out of Alaska. There's a team that's team led by Gambit in New Orleans, and there's a title that features Emma Frost leading a new version of Generation X. It's basically like a kind of like a next generation versus Generation X.
Okay.
But not called Generation X because Generation X was a 90s title that they had to bring back for 2000, which if you read that volume 2 for Generation X, I showed the article. Even he agrees the artwork was atrocious for that book. No wonder the book lasted for like a year. Book was bad. Like I think the writing was really good. I love the covers, but the artwork was atrocious. Like everything like horses in that title.
Okay, which was worse, Generation X's art or Megan Fitzmartin and Mike Rosmos?
Equal bad.
Oh.
I'm trying to think what good titles are. I think Gary Duggan's Iron Man book is pretty interesting. I think when a good title. I could kind of say Alyssa Wong's Captain Marvel run is pretty decent. But I also recommend checking out Kelly Thompson for Captain Marvel. Was an amazing run. 50 issues of awesomeness. That is my opinion.
Okay. Really, X-Men's been a mess since Hickman left, but that's a separate conversation.
Yes. It's like whatever Hickman wanted to do, it's like, yeah, we're not doing that. Let's do whatever. Like, if you read Gary Duggan's X-Men, it is up and down. The whole time.
So I've heard.
Yeah. And that book is officially ending with issue 35. And that is counted as issue 700 for Uncanny X-Men.
Oof.
And the fact that hell is coming back after, like, when I thought I'd come back, like, what? It's been like 5 years. And for some reason, Ultimate Black Panther was a one-shot. Like,
interesting.
Really? And that was like the only book because Black Panther just ended after only 10 issues. I thought that was kind of weird, the fact they ended it. But just Black Panther's a good character.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Well, we should wrap it up. It's almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and move on to final thoughts. My final thoughts is that Kawaki, he has potential, but I don't really think he's going to stick the landing. At least from what I've seen, but hopefully the story is moving a lot. It's moving along, and we're getting more action. So, as for all, I say Volume 2 is better than Volume 1 purely for having a bit more action. As for everything else we talked about, Nick gave me some great recommendations to get back in Marvel. I might tell you what, if y'all can get me to 250 subscribers before the end of this year, I will start reading Marvel consistently again.
What books do you currently read from DC?
DC, I'm currently reading Superman, Batman by Chip Zdarsky, for better or for worse, Batman and Robin, Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, Nightwing, and Green Lantern and Green Lantern War Journal.
I'm pretty much reading all the superhero titles, and I'm also reading John Constantine Dead in America book.
That is a great book, at least from what I've seen. But Nick, anything you want to promote or announce before we wrap up?
I have this videos coming tomorrow because I didn't have much time to do, because I only get a chance to review one anime today, and I did one comic corner. So expect to see reviews tomorrow for Tsushimochi Moonlit Fantasy, Banished in the Hero Party, and Blue X's maybe comic corner too.
Okay. And hopefully, before I can get this out before I freeze again. As for me, you can find me at jheat75 on Twitter or X, or jheatblaze. Recently, I decided to redo my Mass Effect 2 section of my Mass Effect playthrough with Legendary Edition. That way, everything is more streamlined and it's not too tenuous to check out the content on the channel. Probably a 2-hour block, no later. Unlike this video, in all honesty. Also, stay tuned next week for Anime Blaze, where we finish up Fire Force Season 2. And then our next topic, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You're in for a crazy ride.
Yes.
But with that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all for coming onto the channel. And yes, the Ultimate brand is very successful right now, Tevia.
Yeah, and I also mentioned this on my YouTube channel. Do not hit the dislike button. Trust me. I get that count. It may not show up on the video, but I do receive the account for dislikes.
Okay, with that being said, have a good night, everybody. Peace.